Chapter 145. Luo Yunhai was truly taken aback. Although Qin Wentian had displayed his strength earlier, Luo Yunhai had never imagined that Qin Wentian would be able to defeat his nephew, Luo Qianqiu. In the past, his elder brother, Luo Tianya, was extremely talented. After graduating from the Emperor's Star Academy, he was heavily nurtured by the Nine Mystical Palace, and was even recommended to join the Nine Mystical Palace. This time around, he had come to the Junlin banquet under the orders of Luo Tianya. He wanted to see Luo Qianqiu obtain the position of number 1, and failure was not allowed. If he had known that Qin Wentian had such combat prowess, he would have directly used the excuse of being late to disqualify him. Even after Qin Wentian defeated Sikong Mingyue, he still used underhanded methods to deal with Qin Wentian, causing him to be unable to unleash his full strength. For the sake of obtaining the position of number 1, everything was worth it. But in the end, Qin Wentian actually broke through and opened up a brand new arterial pathway, snatching the position of number 1 from the hands of Luo Qianqiu. Luo Yunhai actually held Qin Wentian's talent in high regard. He hoped to recruit Qin Wentian into the Nine Mystical Palace, but sadly, he didn't want such an opportunity for Qin Wentian. The attention of the masses? Luo Yunhai stared at the young man on the platform. What a foolish fellow. For the sake of a short moment of glory, he was willing to disobey the orders of the Nine Mystical Palace. Such an action was truly foolish. The majority of the spectators didn't know what Luo Yunhai was thinking. In fact, only those from the major powers knew of the existence of Luo Yunhai and his group of experts from the Nine Mystical Palace. Their gazes were fixed on the silhouette of the young man on the platform, as admiration and blessings could be seen on their faces. Qin Wentian from the Qin clan of Sky Harmony City, he had walked all the way to the end, obtaining the position of number 1 at the age of 17. In the history of the Junlin banquet, this was an extremely rare occurrence. The young man's name was Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian of Qin's mansion. The smile on Qin Wentian's face was as radiant as the sun. Looking at the smiles on the faces of the elders of the Emperor's Star Academy, seeing Imo Qingcheng raising her dainty little fist towards him, seeing the blessings in Mu Ro's eyes, and seeing Fatty Fan Li's screams, he truly felt extremely happy. Regardless of pride or vanity, in any case, he didn't disappoint those who cared about him. Therefore, he was happy. But while he was happy, there was someone else who was unhappy. A powerful killing intent locked onto him. That Yuanfu cultivator took a step forward, causing a thunderous sound to echo out, as though a gigantic wave of energy was generated from the impact of his step. The crowd was still immersed in the shock of Qin Wentian obtaining first place in the Junlin banquet, but they had forgotten that before Qin Wentian defeated Luo Qianqiu, there was still one more person who had walked up to the edge of the platform. The Junlin banquet has already concluded. It's time to announce the results. Sir, are you disregarding the face of the royal clan by barging into the Junlin banquet? In the direction of the Emperor's Star Academy, Old Gu stood up as he coldly stated. The gazes of the crowd shifted to Chu Tianjiao, who was seated on the azure jadeite dragon seat, only to see Chu Tianjiao quietly sitting there, as though all of this had nothing to do with him. He, Chu Tianjiao, wouldn't interfere in this matter. After all, this was a matter between the Emperor's Star Academy and the Nine Mystical Palace. At this moment, Chu Tianjiao was thinking that since Qin Wentian had obtained first place in the Junlin banquet, would the Nine Mystical Palace still have room for him? Nobody obstructed the young man on the platform. It was as though the voice of the Emperor's Star Academy was disregarded by the royal clan. How dare you be so ruthless in a battle between fellow disciples? The young man stared at Qin Wentian as he took another step forward. Lifting his palms, he blasted out with a fist as a terrifying energy gushed forth. Qin Wentian lifted his ancient halberd to block, yet the terrifying energy caused the halberd to be knocked out of his hands. Qin Wentian's body trembled violently as he retreated. Luo Qianqiu and Qin Wentian were both students of the Emperor's Star Academy. Hence, it could be said that they were fellow disciples of the same sect. However, the reason given by the young man was truly laughable. Although they were fellow disciples, how had Luo Qianqiu treated Qin Wentian in the past? Now that he had been defeated, talking about being fellow disciples was nothing but an excuse. How impudent! How ridiculous! Many in the crowd berated. Old Gu, Mustang, and a few others from the Emperor's Star Academy stepped out, heading towards the direction of the Emperor's Star Academy's platform. However, at this moment, the crowd saw another silhouette appearing on the platform. This silhouette was none other than Luo Yunhai, who had been standing beside Chu Tianjiao all this while. He calmly stood there as a terrifying aura gushed forth, sweeping through the air. The silhouettes of Old Gu and the rest all froze in the air, their countenances ashen. What kind of place do you guys take the platform of the Junlin banquet to be? Luo Yunhai calmly stated. When that terrifying aura erupted forth, the entire space turned silent. It was as though everyone could feel how terrifying that aura was. It was sufficient to suppress everything. Luo Yunhai. Old Gu coldly stated. Luo Qianqiu's defeat is his defeat. The 9 mystical palaces' method of taking revenge in front of so many people is simply too despicable. Luo Yunhai, his surname is also Luo. Could he be a relative of Luo Qianqiu? The countenances of the crowd froze. Don't worry, I'm only helping your Emperor's Star Academy to teach a lesson to those who don't care about being fellow disciples. I won't do anything to him. Luo Yunhai's voice was as calm as ever. Such an unforeseen event caused strange expressions to appear on the faces of the spectators. The Junlin banquet had been held in Chu for many years, but in the recent years, there had never been any slip-ups, nor was there anyone who dared to cause trouble. But today, it seemed as though this situation had been broken. There was someone who wanted to cause trouble in the Junlin banquet. Not only that, the royal clan of Chu pretended as though they didn't see anything. Chu Tianjiao continued sitting there, as though he was an outsider. 9 Mystical Palace. Many in the crowd had heard of the existence of the 9 Mystical Palace, and their hearts involuntarily trembled. So this was the case, Luo Qianqiu was actually from the 9 Mystical Palace. In that case, this Junlin banquet must have been premeditated beforehand. In the past, there hadn't been any unforeseen events in the Junlin banquet because the 9 Mystical Palace would only select geniuses during the Junlin banquet. But this time around, it was different. This time around, the 9 Mystical Palace had to obtain the number 1 position in the Junlin banquet. However, their plans had been spoiled by Qin Wentian. The 9 top rankers of the Junlin banquet, come up. Luo Yunhai calmly commanded. Instantly, Luo Qianqiu, Xikong Mingyue, Chu Chen, Orkan and the rest all ascended the platform. Only Second Sword and Luo Huanguxing didn't listen to Luo Yunhai's command. He directly issued an order to the Junlin banquet. Such a scene caused the crowd to be deeply shocked. Only now did they understand what sort of existence the 9 Mystical Palace was. My 9 Mystical Palace has been paying close attention to the Junlin banquet for many years. Every year, the outstanding geniuses of the Junlin banquet would be invited to join our 9 Mystical Palace. This year is naturally no exception. Luo Yunhai indifferently stated, as though he was looking down on the entire world. Their 9 Mystical Palace indeed had the qualifications to look down on the entire world. Over here, they were the kings, the uncrowned kings. Today, I shall take this opportunity to announce that Chu Tianjiao and Xiao Lu are already disciples of my 9 Mystical Palace. Luo Yunhai's indifferent voice sounded as though he was announcing their status. The Crown Prince of Chu, Chu Tianjiao, and the Crown Prince of Snowcloud, Xiao Lu, were both disciples of the 9 Mystical Palace. These two were the future kings of 2 countries, but at the same time, they also had another identity, disciples of the 9 Mystical Palace. Luo Qianqiu, today I wish to ask, Xikong Mingyue, Chu Chen, Orkan, Ho Tai, are you all willing to join our 9 Mystical Palace? Luo Yunhai didn't bother with the shock of the crowd as he continued, inviting the most outstanding geniuses of the Junlin banquet to join us. I'm willing. Sikong Mingyue bowed. I'm willing. Chu Qin agreed. I'm willing. Orkan agreed. I'm willing. Ho Tai agreed. Voices of shock rang out one after another. Not only that, Chu Tianjiao and Xiao LVL also came down from their seats, standing below the platform, as though to show their respect to the Nine Mystical Palace. Very good. From today onwards, you all can join our Nine Mystical Palace at any time. Naturally, if you are willing to temper yourself outside for a few years, the Nine Mystical Palace won't say anything. This is your freedom. Luo Yunhai laughed. This time around, the Junlin banquet has attracted so many outstanding geniuses. I hope that you all will be able to help each other in the future, and respect your fellow disciples. Don't be like some others, ruthlessly attacking your fellow disciples. Luo Yunhai's words caused the crowd to turn their gazes onto Qin Wentian. The champion of the Junlin banquet, Qin Wentian, was currently excluded from the Nine Mystical Palace. He was supposed to be the most dazzling existence, yet the Nine Mystical Palace seemed to be intentionally humiliating him at this moment because he had gone against their wishes. The Nine Mystical Palace had given him a chance, but Qin Wentian didn't want it. The countenances of those from the Emperor's Star Academy were extremely unsightly to behold. They didn't expect that the Nine Mystical Palace would make such a move. It was as though they wanted to display their might as a king, causing Qin Wentian's radiance to dim in comparison. And the Nine Mystical Palace indeed had the ability to do so. Boom! Yet another terrifying rumbling sound rang out as waves of qi gushed forth. That Yuanfu realm cultivator once again advanced towards Qin Wentian. The Nine Mystical Palace said that they wouldn't do anything to Qin Wentian, and would only teach him a lesson. But to what extent would they control their actions? Cripple Qin Wentian's cultivation? How could the experts from the Emperor's Star Academy be willing to do so? They all stepped out, only to see Luo Yunhai soaring up into the air. The aura of a peak-level Yuanfu cultivator gushed forth, causing people to feel an urge to submit to him. If the Mo clan's elder didn't make an appearance, or if the headmaster of the Emperor's Star Academy didn't appear, there would be very few who could contend against him. Is this the power of the Nine Mystical Palace? Powerful, tyrannical, and unreasonable. This was strength. In this world, there was no right or wrong, there was no logic. Who dares to interfere in the matters of the Nine Mystical Palace? Luo Yunhai roared, causing the entire heavens and earth to turn silent. The crowd glanced at Luo Yunhai, and then at Qin Wentian. They didn't know what to feel in their hearts. AI, the Nine Mystical Palace only has this much potential. Amidst the crowd, a sigh rang out. The voice wasn't loud, but it was like a gust of wind, drifting into the ears of everyone present. In the vast crowd, a path automatically appeared, and an old man with a head of snow-white hair slowly walked out. The old man inclined his head and gazed at the lonely silhouette of the young man on the platform, as a warm smile appeared on his face. Since you were the champion of the Junlin banquet, today, I shall accompany you as you descend into the world. The calm voice of the old man was like a gust of wind, whistling through the eardrums of the crowd. Today, I shall accompany you as you descend into the world. Chapter 146. The old man was dressed in plain clothes, and his hair was as white as snow. He seemed to be in his twilight years, but he wanted to rule over the world. Seeing him slowly walk onto the battle platform, countless people stared at him. No one knew who this old man was. Go Miang Hong. On the viewing platform, there were several people who recognized Gung Hong, as their hearts trembled. This was Gung Hong, his black hair had actually turned white. What exactly happened to his body? It's the Grand Master of Divine Inscriptions, he actually stepped out for the sake of Qin Wentian. The hearts of many in the crowd were filled with shock. Although the attainments of Divine Inscriptions in the Tao of Divine Inscriptions were extremely high, but with his current strength, could he contend against the Nine Mystical Palace? Also, he actually acted for the sake of Qin Wentian. Could it be that they were acquainted with each other because of that divine inscription painting? Luo Yunhai's eyes flashed with a hint of mockery as he stared at Gong Hong. In Chu, there was actually someone who dared to mock the Nine Mystical Palace? Wasn't he a little too arrogant? Could it be that this old man didn't know what kind of power the Nine Mystical Palace was? Scram! The young man beside Qin Wentian took a step forward as killing intent gushed out from his body, heading towards Ganyang Hong. Did this old man want to die? How arrogant! No one has dared to speak to me like this for decades. Upon seeing the other party walking over, his palms abruptly trembled. In an instant, astral light radiated from the skies, and the spectators only saw an arm of astral light appearing from the void, descending from the heavens. The gigantic arm opened its palm and grabbed at the young man. It was like the might of the heavens, making it impossible for anyone to resist. That young man's countenance changed as he punched out. However, that arm was like a heavenly arm, disregarding the attack and directly grabbing onto the young man. Buzz! Wild gales flickered and the young man's figure was pulled into the void by the celestial arm of stars. He was like an ant. It was as though the astral celestial arm was his own arm, controlling it from a distance. It's time for your parents to teach you how to behave. After which, the astral celestial arm abruptly trembled as it flung the opponent's body away. In that instant, the young man's body flew into the distance, directly flying out of the boundaries of the Chu Emperor district, and no one knew where he had been thrown. It was as though he was throwing rubbish, tossing a Yuanfu realm cultivator far into the distance. Such a scene caused everyone's gaze to freeze there. So strong. Their hearts were trembling violently. How could Gong Hong be so powerful? Luo Yunhai's countenance drastically changed. He was a peak-level Yuanfu cultivator, how could he not be aware of the methods used by Gong Hong? Astral Nova, this was the symbol of a heavenly dipper sovereign. Those from the royal clan, those from the Emperor's Star Academy, as well as all the experts present, all of them couldn't help but feel great waves of shock in their hearts. Many years ago, the champion of the Junlin banquet, after he returned to Chu, he started to research divine inscriptions. But in reality, he had always been a tyrannical existence at the Heavenly Dipper realm. Nobody knew about this. Get your ass down here. A tyrannical voice rang out from Gong Hong's mouth as he stared at Luo Yunhai. Black lines appeared on Luo Yunhai's face as the muscles on his face twitched uncontrollably. However, his body still continued to descend, landing on the ground. The arrogant Luo Yunhai, because of Gong Hong's rebuke, directly fell from the skies, as though he had fallen off a divine altar. Who are you? I hope you won't interfere in the matters of the Nine Mystical Palace. Luo Yunhai's aura was evidently not as strong as before. This place wasn't the Nine Mystical Palace. If it was the Nine Mystical Palace, there was no need for him to fear Gong Hong. But this place was the Chu country. Here, a Heavenly Dipper sovereign could annihilate all of them from the Nine Mystical Palace. Shut up. Gong Hong coldly snorted. Has the Nine Mystical Palace fallen so low that they can only strut around in a place like Chu? As he spoke, Gong Hong slowly walked towards the side of Qin Wentian. A smile appeared on his face as he looked at Qin Wentian. Little fellow, I didn't expect that you would be able to become the champion of the Junlin banquet. What a pleasant surprise. Qin Wentian was also very happy when he saw the smile on Gong Hong's face. Back then, Gong Hong's heart was as though it had already died. But today, Gong Hong walked up the platform, wanting to accompany him as he conquered the world. How imposing was this? This was the aura that should belong to him. Senior, you've also obtained it before. What's there for me to be proud of? Qin Wentian laughed. That's different. I became the champion of the Junlin banquet when I was at the peak of the arterial circulation realm. As for you, when you participated in the Junlin banquet, you were only at the 7th level of arterial circulation. You are much stronger compared to me. Gong Hong was still smiling. Ever since that day when Qin Wentian said to him, the past has already passed, the future is too far away. Focus only on the present. Luo Qianqiu, Xikong Mingyue, Chu Chen, and Orkan. Although they aren't bad, they still cannot be compared to you. How laughable is the 9 mystical palaces' arrogance, recruiting all of them but excluding you. Not only is it laughable, it's also lamentable. After speaking, Gung Hong slowly turned his gaze onto Luo Yunhai and the rest. If the 9 mystical palace were to use such a method to display their superiority, their name would be stained with infamy for 10,000 years to come. Gung Hong calmly continued, based on the talent Qin Wentian displayed today, Misty Peak, Setting Sun Mountain, Phoenix Cry Valley, which power would he join? Is the 9 mystical palace mocking Chu for being too small and isolated from the rest of the world? But so be it. From my point of view, the 9 mystical palace isn't worthy of Qin Wentian's talent. Gung Hong calmly replied, causing the crowd to draw in a deep breath. As expected of Gung Hong, the champion of the Junlin banquet many years ago. After leaving Chu, his horizons had broadened, and he wasn't limited to the 9 mystical palace. Earlier, when they saw Luo Yunhai's arrogant attitude, causing Chu to submit, and inviting Xikong Mingyue and the rest to join the 9 mystical palace, they were all deeply shocked. They all treated the 9 mystical palace as an unreachable existence. However, Gung Hong's words directly pierced through that false arrogance. In this Junlin banquet, Qin Wentian was the champion. What qualifications did the 9 mystical palace have to choose him? Why didn't Qin Wentian choose the 9 mystical palace instead? Back then, Gung Hong was also the champion of the Junlin banquet. Didn't he choose the 9 mystical palace as well? Even so, he still grew so powerful. If Qin Wentian returned to Chu after many years, wouldn't he be another Gung Hong? In fact, he might even be stronger than him. If you wish to leave Chu, I can bring you along with me right now, and you can join a powerful sect. Gung Hong turned his head and smiled at Qin Wentian. Evidently, he wasn't joking. As long as Qin Wentian nodded his head, he could immediately bring Qin Wentian out of Chu. Given Qin Wentian's talent, there was no need for him to leave the 9 mystical palace. Qin Wentian naturally knew that Gung Hong wouldn't lie to him. The 9 mystical palace wanted to humiliate Qin Wentian. Gung Hong's words were telling the people of Chu, as well as Qin Wentian, not to be affected by Luo Yunhai's actions. He wanted to broaden his horizons and not limit himself to a mere 9 mystical palace. So what if they controlled 10 countries? This world was too vast. If this world was compared to the 9 heavenly layers, the Chu country was merely at the bottom few layers. Over there, one would never be able to see the scenery of the 9 heavenly layers. However, right now, Qin Wentian still had unfinished business in Chu. He still had his family and friends there. If he wanted to leave now, it wouldn't be realistic. Seems like you still have unfinished business. After today, I will leave Chu. I will introduce you to some of the transcendent powers, and see if there are any who are willing to receive you. Or maybe, after I'm done with my business, I will make a trip back to Chu. Gung Hong laughed. After which, he turned his gaze onto Chu Tianjiao as he continued, you should be the crown prince of Chu, right? The champion of the Junlin banquet has a reward. What reward did you prepare for the champion of the Junlin banquet this year? Chu Tianjiao stared at Gung Hong, feeling an uneasy feeling in his heart. Someone as tyrannical as Gung Hong didn't even care about his status. He could still face him with such an arrogant attitude. This was strength. Before Chu Tianjiao could reply, Gung Hong continued, forget it. Since it's a reward, it should be up to Qin Wentian to choose. Qin Wentian, you obtained the first place in the Junlin banquet this year. What do you want? I want Chu to release my father and grandfather. Qin Wentian stared at Chu Tianjiao, his countenance extremely sharp. He came to the royal capital of Chu, grew stronger step by step, and participated in the Junlin banquet. Everything he did, there was only one goal. His father Qin Chuan and grandfather Qin Wu were still imprisoned in the Black Stronghold. No way, how can we release the leader of the rebel army? Chu Tianjiao coldly snorted. I want you to release them. Gung Hong stared at Chu Tianjiao, his attitude tyrannical. Chu Tianjiao's countenance was extremely unsightly to behold. He resolutely stated, even if I want to release them, I can only release Qin Chuan alone. Qin Wu cannot be released. This is my bottom line. Gung Hong glanced at Qin Wentian, only to see Qin Wentian staring at Chu Tianjiao's eyes. Chu Tianjiao's gaze was resolute and unshakable. Fine. Qin Wentian nodded his head. Being able to rescue his father from the Junlin banquet could be considered an unexpected joy. Gung Hong, you really care too much. At this moment, a voice drifted over from afar, accompanied by the howling of a raging wind. Gung Hong frowned as he stared into the distance, only to see a gigantic palm of lightning descending from the skies, slamming towards him and Qin Wentian. The terrifying lightning radiating from it seemed as though it wanted to engulf the heavens and earth, destroying everything in its path. Humph, Gung Hong coldly snorted, as his astral celestial arms shot out in rage. The two gigantic palms collided with each other, causing a deafening boom to echo out. At this moment, a silhouette appeared in the airspace above the Chu Emperor district. This person was clad in a blue robe, exuding an imposing aura. His features bore a striking resemblance to Luo Qianqiu and Luo Yunhai. Upon seeing this person, in the direction of the Emperor's Star Academy, Ren Qianqing's body violently trembled as his countenance turned extremely unsightly. Luo Tianya of the Nine Mystical Palace, who was also a former student of the Emperor's Star Academy. He actually came to Chu. Chapter 147. Luo Tianya stood proudly in the air with a terrifying aura. Those from the Chu Emperor district inclined their heads as they stared at Qin Wentian, as great waves of shock rocked their hearts. They, who had never seen a Heavenly Dipper sovereign before, actually saw two Heavenly Dipper sovereigns at the Junlin banquet today. To them, such a figure only existed in legends. Yet, he had appeared before their eyes. Is this person Luo Qianqiu's father? Like father, like son. Seems like Luo Qianqiu has a purpose for cultivating in the Emperor's Star Academy. Since Luo Qianqiu had such a background, why did he choose to stay in the Emperor's Star Academy and not the Nine Mystical Palace? Evidently, he had a motive for coming here. Father. Luo Qianqiu stood below, glancing at Luo Tianya who was floating in the air. Lowering his head, he remained silent, as though he had nothing to say to his father. He had lost to Qin Wentian. He had failed to accomplish his mission of obtaining the top position in the Junlin banquet. He had let down his father. In a place like Chu, he was actually defeated. Who are you? Luo Tianya stared at Luo Qianqiu with a sharp gaze as he asked. Luo Qianqiu raised his head, looking at his father. I am Luo Qianqiu. You are Luo Qianqiu, there's no such thing as cowardice in your life. Who hasn't failed in the path of cultivation? Can you defeat everyone in the world? Luo Tianya's voice rumbled as he berated, raise your head. You are Luo Qianqiu, the son of Luo Tianya. Luo Qianqiu's countenance was as sharp as lightning as he clenched his fists tightly. He was Luo Qianqiu, so what if he was defeated? He was still a disciple of the Nine Mystical Palace. The humiliation he suffered today would be washed away with the blood of Qin Wentian in the future. Raising his head, Luo Qianqiu looked at Qin Wentian once more, his killing intent was incomparably sharp. Qin Wentian was a stain on his life, and he would definitely wash it off. Luo Tianya, I was wondering why he looked so familiar. So he's your son. Gung Hong stared at the silhouette in the air as he spoke. He actually knew Luo Tianya. It's fine if you came all the way to Chu for no reason, but why are you interfering in the matters of my Nine Mystical Palace? Luo Tianya coldly stated. The Nine Mystical Palace has gone too far, I can't stand it any longer. Humph. Luo Tianya coldly snorted, in Chu, there is no need for outsiders to interfere in the matters of my Nine Mystical Palace. Do you really think that just because you are here, you will be able to obstruct the Nine Mystical Palace? As soon as he finished speaking, Luo Tianya took a step forward, and a terrifying aura surged toward Gung Hong and Qin Wentian. The celestial arm of stars appeared, and a cracking sound could be heard in the void. It was as though something had shattered. I don't care what the Nine Mystical Palace wants to do. But today, Qin Wentian obtained the #1 position in the Junlin banquet. If the Nine Mystical Palace wants to take revenge just because your son was defeated by him, I will never allow it. With just you alone, you want to fight against the Nine Mystical Palace? Isn't this a little too ridiculous? Luo Tianya descended once again, and the might of thunder and lightning swept across the void. Luo Qianqiu and the rest all retreated, leaving only Qin Wentian and Gung Hong standing below, enduring the immense pressure. I can't obstruct the Nine Mystical Palace from doing things, but if you guys are so shameless to bully the juniors of the younger generation, Gung Hong can kill your juniors as easily as flipping my palms. The celestial arm of stars once again trembled as the two of them faced off against each other. So what if he's the champion of the Junlin banquet? I really want to see how far he can grow. Luo Tianya's gaze swept over to Qin Wentian, his eyes extremely sharp. He had never believed that a genius would have a smooth path of cultivation. The path of cultivation was filled with countless struggles, and too many geniuses had fallen. Without a strong will and some luck, it was impossible for one to become an expert. My Nine Mystical Palace won't touch him, but you are not allowed to interfere in the matters of Chu. This country belongs to my Nine Mystical Palace. Luo Tianya tyrannically stated. Chu was the territory of his Nine Mystical Palace. The Nine Mystical Palace didn't care who was the ruler of Chu. However, the Emperor of Chu had to provide the greatest convenience for the Nine Mystical Palace. For example, selecting talents, requesting for resources. Not a single emperor could disobey. As for which emperor they supported, only the lower ranks of the Nine Mystical Palace would participate. The upper echelons of the Nine Mystical Palace had never interfered in the matters of Chu. Even if the Emperor of Chu changed, it had nothing to do with him. But he had to obey. Don't worry, I won't interfere in the matters of Chu for no reason. Gung Hong coldly replied. If it wasn't for the fact that he truly liked this youth, Qin Wentian, he wouldn't have appeared on the platform of the Junlin banquet in such a manner. Luo Tianya no longer looked at Gung Hong. Instead, he turned his gaze in the direction of the Emperor's Star Academy, looking at Ren Qianqing. Teacher, how have you been? I don't have a student like you. Ren Qianqing coldly replied. Teacher, why must you be like this? Since we're born, we naturally have to pursue the path of cultivation. It's unavoidable for us to use some underhanded methods. Even though I'm currently in the Nine Mystical Palace, I still remember teacher's kindness and named my son Qianqiu. Luo Tianya calmly replied. However, Ren Qianqing's countenance grew increasingly unsightly, as though he hated Luo Tianya to the bones. Our paths are different, forget it. Luo Tianya shook his head, before turning his gaze to Luo Qianqiu and the rest of the Nine Mystical Palace. Let's go. As the sound of his voice faded, silhouettes soared up into the air. Luo Tianya grabbed onto Luo Qianqiu's arm, his gaze still sweeping towards Qin Wentian. Loftily staring at Qin Wentian, he stated, I really want to see what accomplishments the champion of the Junlin banquet can achieve. Luo Qianqiu, I will wait for you. As the sound of his voice faded, Luo Tianya turned and left together with the rest of the Nine Mystical Palace, disappearing into the horizon. Seeing the departure of the Nine Mystical Palace, the hearts of the crowd trembled. This was the first time the Nine Mystical Palace appeared in front of the world in such a manner, without any concealment. Only now did they know that behind the scenes, there was such a terrifying power that controlled the entire Chu country. In front of them, Chu Tianjiao didn't even have the authority to speak. Senior Gung Hong is actually a heavenly dipper sovereign. The crowd gazed at Gung Hong, their eyes filled with respect. Heavenly dipper sovereigns were characters that stood at the pinnacle of Chu. A single person was the law of an entire country. Once one reached this level, there were only a few who would choose to remain in Chu. Naturally, If one were to say who was the most dazzling person today, it would naturally be Qin Wentian. Using absolute strength, he seized the position of the top ranker of the Junlin banquet. No one would have thought that the person standing at the very end would be him, Qin Wentian. Not only that, behind him, not only did he have the support of the Emperor's Star Academy, he also had the backing of a Heavenly Dipper sovereign. Gung Hong, he accompanied Qin Wentian to descend upon the world. Standing on the battle platform of the Junlin banquet, basking in boundless glory. Qin Wentian, you are the pride of our Emperor's Star Academy. Ren Qianqing smiled as he nodded his head to Qin Wentian. At this moment, those from the Emperor's Star Academy stood there, gazing at Qin Wentian with solemn expressions. Indeed, he deserves to be proud. In the direction of the Mo clan, the crowd stood up, congratulating Qin Wentian. Those from the Divine Weapon Pavilion also stood up. And Lu Yan had a smile on her face. Evidently, she hadn't expected that this year's Junlin banquet would be so fascinating. The Chu Emperor district was extremely quiet. The crowd would forever remember this historical moment. They would never forget today's Junlin banquet. They were grateful to Qin Wentian, grateful to all the young geniuses on the platform, for giving them such a magnificent banquet. Putting aside all grudges, they were all worthy of pride. Gung Hong stood beside Qin Wentian, patting him on his shoulder with a smile on his face. After which, he turned his gaze towards the spectator stands as he spoke to Mu Rou, "Lass from the Mu clan, have you thought about what promise you want me to fulfill?" Mu Rou froze for a moment before smiling. "Senior, please don't take it so seriously. Just take it as a gift from me to Senior." Mu Rou knew very well how much weight a single sentence from a Heavenly Dipper sovereign would carry. "If you have thought it through, write it down and place it in my bamboo hut. When I return, I will be able to see it." Gung Hong laughed, before turning his gaze to Chu Tianjiao and the rest. "Don't forget what you promised. Tomorrow morning, Qin Wentian needs to meet with his father." Gung Hong's words were spoken as though it was a matter of course. The crowd knew very well how influential a Heavenly Dipper sovereign was. Luo Tianya had left just like that, and the people from the Nine Mystical Palace didn't find trouble with Qin Wentian. Could it really be because of Luo Tianya's magnanimity? Even if he had such courage, when Qin Wentian matured, what about the other members of the Nine Mystical Palace? Ultimately, it was all because of Gung Hong's existence, as well as the threat he had spoken. If not, the situation today wouldn't have been resolved so easily. If a Heavenly Dipper sovereign wasn't killed on the spot, it would be a calamity to the future. Since Junior has agreed, I will not regret it. Chu Tianjiao replied. Good, Gung Hong nodded his head, before turning to Qin Wentian with a smile, continue to work hard in your cultivation. After speaking, his body soared up into the air, as a voice drifted into Qin Wentian's ears. Be careful when you're in the Chu country. The Chu country has a history of a few thousand years, and their foundations are extremely deep. Although there was no news of them afterwards, nobody knows how deep the foundations of the royal clan are. Hence, even I can't pressure them too much. If not, things wouldn't end so easily. Before you have sufficient strength, don't touch the royal clan. Gung Hong's voice was only audible to Qin Wentian, causing Qin Wentian's heart to tremble. Seems like there was a reason why Gung Hong didn't insist on releasing Qin Wu. Indeed, the royal clan of the Chu country was the same as the Emperor's Star Academy, they both had extremely deep foundations. Since the Emperor's Star Academy could force the Nine Mystical Palace to take a step back, the royal clan must also have a trump card that no one knew about. The power struggle between these major powers was far from being as simple as he had imagined. And now, even though he had obtained the position of champion in the Junlin banquet, he still had a long way to go. Luckily, his father, Qin Chuan, was finally released. As he thought of this, Qin Wentian felt extremely happy in his heart. Finally, he could see his father again. Qin Yao's eyes were slightly moist as she stared at the lofty silhouette standing on the platform. Her younger brother, Qin Wentian, had obtained the position of champion in the Junlin banquet, and was highly regarded by countless people. Not only that, he had really saved her father. It had only been a year since Qin Wentian left the Sky Harmony City. Tomorrow, when her father was released, he would definitely feel proud of Qin Wentian. Chapter 148. On the platform of the Chu Emperor's stage, Qin Wentian was being watched by countless gazes. Chu Tianjiao returned to his azure jadeite dragon seat. His emotionless countenance now had traces of coldness to it, but it quickly returned to normal. Not only that, this time around, Chu Tianjiao didn't even personally announce the rankings of the Junlin banquet. Evidently, such an ending was something he didn't wish to see. However, this didn't affect the glory Qin Wentian had obtained. Xiao Lu's, Sikong Mingyue, as well as the Yi clan and the O clan all followed Chu Tianjiao and left. Only those who had a good relationship with Qin Wentian, as well as the surrounding crowd, remained behind, as though unwilling to see the Junlin banquet come to an end. Many people had already rushed up the platform, surrounding Qin Wentian, causing the atmosphere to be exceptionally lively. However, at this moment, Qin Wentian's heart had already calmed down. After witnessing Luo Tianya's strength, the power of the 9 mystical palace, and the existence of a powerhouse like Gong Hong, he felt an intense desire to become an expert. One day, if he could achieve what Gong Hong had done for him, then even Chu Tianjiao would have to come up and admit his mistakes. Qin Wentian finally left together with those from the Emperor's Star Academy. Countless people sighed as they gradually dispersed. Mo Qingqing's countenance was filled with a smile. Such a Junlin banquet was truly unforgettable. Oi! A mischievous silhouette appeared beside Mo Qingqing. Mo Qingqing rolled her eyes as she smiled. Why did you sneak over to my place? Your lover obtained the first rank in the Junlin banquet, so I'm here to congratulate you. Nolan teased Mo Qingqing. Mo Qingqing froze, and upon seeing the gazes of those from the surrounding clans all landing on her, her face instantly reddened. You idiot Nolan. Mo Qingqing stretched out her hands and slapped towards Nolan, only to see Nolan dodging with a smile. Nolan ran a few steps forward before turning her head back to look at Mo Qingqing, but honestly speaking, his performance really surprised me. If you like him, why don't you just marry him? Screw you, if you want to marry him then go ahead. Mo Qingqing speechlessly replied. Upon seeing the two girls teasing each other, the members of the Mo clan all had joyful smiles on their faces. In the direction of the Star River Association, Vice President Zhou Yin had a dark expression on his face, as though he was extremely angry. Murin, oh, Murin. Zhou Yin said fiercely. Mu Qing, who was following behind him, lowered her head. However, there was a faint cold light in her eyes. President Zhou, Qin Wentian's performance this time around might cause the Emperor's Star Academy to pay more attention to him, but at the same time, wouldn't he also leave behind a hidden danger for himself? I'm afraid that many people wouldn't let him off. Murin spoke to Zhou Yin. Does this have anything to do with what you're doing? Zhou Yin coldly stared at Murin as he continued. If Qin Wentian had joined the Star River Association back then, based on his strength and talent in the Tao of Divine Inscriptions, it would have been an easy matter for me to recommend him to the upper echelons. Murin coldly laughed as he heard Zhou Yin's words. He cursed in his heart, old bastard, you want to recommend Qin Wentian to the upper echelons and pave the way for you? Isn't your plan a little too laughable? Naturally, it was impossible for Murin to say these words out loud. He could only act like a yes man, concealing his thoughts very deeply. Not only for the Mo clan and the Star River Association, the spectators all had different thoughts and attitudes towards the Junlin banquet. For those who had placed their bets at Heaven's Wonder, after the Junlin banquet ended, they naturally thought about their bets. The Drunken Wonder Inn was filled with people. Fatty Fanle didn't go to collect his Yuan meteor stones. Since Heaven's Wonder was located in the royal capital, there was no way they would renege on their debt. After all, there were many who saw him betting on Qin Wentian. He didn't want to be robbed after he obtained his Yuan meteor stones. The young man beside Immortal Drunken Wine didn't care so much. After collecting his Yuan meteor stones, he and Immortal Drunken Wine returned to the simple inn they had visited previously. He didn't seem to have any Yuan meteor stones on him, but there was an interspatial ring on his finger. Evidently, the Yuan meteor stones were stored within. Immortal Drunken Wine placed his lips on the rim of his cup, closed his eyes, and took a deep breath, as though he couldn't bear to drink. It's not easy to get the innkeeper to bring out such good wine. Immortal Drunken Wine laughed. However, since you've earned a lot this time around, why don't you bring me another bottle after you finish it? Your calculations are truly marvelous. The young man opposite him stared at Immortal Drunken Wine. I did earn a lot, but you should have 800 Yuan meteor stones. It should be sufficient for you to squander for a period of time. It's all thanks to that fellow, Qin Wentian. Who would have thought, who would have thought? Immortal Drunken Wine shook his head as he laughed. Qin Wentian being able to obtain the top position of the Junlin banquet had truly surprised him. This time around, he obtained the top position of the Junlin banquet and even saved his father's life. This can be considered a wonderful thing. Immortal Drunken Wine lightly sipped on his wine, feeling extremely happy for Qin Wentian. However, he only saw the young man opposite him shaking his head as a bitter smile appeared on his face. You have a different opinion? Immortal Drunken Wine curiously asked. You don't understand. How can things be so simple? The young man sighed. Actually, it's best to maintain a delicate balance. Once the balance is broken, I don't know what direction things will develop in. Why are your words even more intoxicating than wine? I feel dizzy just listening to them. Immortal Drunken Wine bitterly laughed. How can an outsider see things so clearly? Not only that, you've never been a fan of scheming, so you wouldn't understand the matters here. The young man seemed to be mumbling to himself as he continued, the waters here are extremely deep. Now that Qin Wentian has caused such a ruckus, I'm afraid that my younger brother wouldn't be willing to accept this. The various great clans would definitely not sit still, and at that time, the balance would be completely broken. Balance? Immortal Drunken Wine was puzzled as he listened to the young man's words. Although the bloodline of my Chu emperor isn't a kind person, do you really think that they would make a move against a loyal official who has no threat? That younger brother of mine, Chu Tianjiao, is also a dragon among men. How can he be so magnanimous? The young man drained the wine in his cup, feeling somewhat depressed as he departed. The rebellion hasn't been quelled for a year, yet Qin Wentian is still safe and sound. It's not that the royal clan is useless, it's just that the Chu country doesn't want to be pacified. This is the balance. The young man slowly walked away, his silhouette gradually disappearing. However, Immortal Drunken Wine stood there in a daze, staring at the silhouette of the young man. An instant later, Immortal Drunken Wine bitterly laughed as he murmured, no wonder he's willing to be a carefree king. Such a scheming and scheming life is truly boring. It's still more enjoyable to be drunk. In the Emperor's Star Academy, Qin Wentian had already returned. At this moment, in his courtyard, Ren Qianqing, Mustang and Luo Huan were all present. Ren Qianqing sighed, Wentian, who would have thought that you would be able to obtain the first position? Why didn't you inform the Emperor's Star Academy beforehand so that they would be fully prepared? Next time, don't be so impulsive. I also didn't expect that obtaining the first position would be so dangerous, and that the 9 Mystical Palace would resort to such underhanded methods. Qin Wentian bitterly smiled. Indeed, he was still too young, and the things he could think of were too few. He was only 17 years of age, and his experience in life was limited. There were many things he couldn't think of in detail. However, it's fortunate that Senior Gung Hong appeared. It was a daunting experience without any mishaps. Ren Qianqing laughed. Initially, they were still worrying about who would be able to obstruct Luo Qianqiu, but who would have thought that Qin Wentian had already accomplished it, 7th level of the Heavenly Star Pavilion. When do you intend to go up there? Ren Qianqing laughed, causing a sharp glint of light to flicker in Qin Wendian's eyes. What secrets did the rumored 7th level of the Heavenly Star Pavilion contain? Why was it that when Luo Qianqiu's father ascended to the 7th level, he was so determined to ascend to the 8th level? Not only that, he didn't hesitate to send his son to the Emperor's Star Academy to fight for this opportunity. Tomorrow, after I bring my father out. Qin Wendian wasn't in a hurry. The Heavenly Star Pavilion was there, and it wouldn't be able to run away. That's fine, I will send someone to accompany you tomorrow. Now, your safety has to be taken seriously. Ren Qianqing solemnly stated. He naturally knew the dangers that would arise after he revealed his abilities. The situation in the royal capital was complicated, and the waters were deep. From now onwards, as long as Qin Wendian stepped out of the Emperor's Star Academy, he had to be protected. Right. Qin Wendian nodded his head. Although the 9 Mystical Palace and the royal clan wouldn't openly deal with him, no one knew what they were up to in the dark. Not only that, the relationships between the major powers in the royal capital were extremely complicated. The Yi clan and the O clan were also eyeing him covetously. At this moment, the cry of a crane drifted over. Raising his head, Ren Qianqing saw a white crane flying in his direction. A smile involuntarily appeared on his face as he turned to Qin Wendian. I'll take my leave first. Have a good rest. After which, Ren Qianqing and Mustang exchanged glances, as they smiled at each other before departing. The white crane spiraled down from the skies, landing in midair. Mo Qingcheng and Nolan could be seen on its back. Why are you here? Qin Wendian inclined his head, as a smile appeared on his face. I thought that you should be done with your matters here, so I came to congratulate you. Mo Qingcheng had a flawless smile on her face. Come down and take a seat. Qin Wendian spoke to Mo Qingcheng. Mo Qingcheng nodded her head, as the two of them jumped down from the back of the white crane. Nolan turned to Qin Wendian. Smelly brat, Qingcheng has never taken the initiative to visit anyone before. You have to grab hold of this opportunity. Qin Wendian blinked his eyes, only to see Mo Qingcheng rolling her eyes at Nolan. You were the one who instigated me to come here to play. Did I? How come I don't remember? Nolan stared at the skies, refusing to admit it no matter what. Ignore her words. Mo Qingcheng faced Qin Wendian, only to see Qin Wendian staring at her. This caused Mo Qingcheng's beautiful countenance to falter, as a hint of shyness flashed in her eyes. In the eyes of the geniuses of the royal capital, Mo Qingcheng was cold and arrogant. She knew that these people all had their own motives for interacting with her. Naturally, she didn't like it. But after all, she was still a simple and honest girl. How could she be as cold as ice? How could she stand up to Qin Wendian's stare? Naturally, her face reddened. The atmosphere became extremely awkward, as well as a hint of ambiguity. This caused Nolan to giggle. Do the two of you want me to leave for a while? Screw you. Mo Qingcheng was completely speechless. If she knew this would happen, she wouldn't have brought him along. Chapter 149. Mo Qingcheng was completely speechless towards Nolan. This lass was intentionally here to create trouble for her. At this moment, Nolan was grinning as she looked at her. Fine, fine, fine. Screw me, I'll leave now. After speaking, Nolan gave Mo Qingcheng a knowing look, and then smiled at Qin Wendian. Smelly brat, you better grab hold of this opportunity. This is a once-in-a-blue-moon opportunity. Who knows how many people in the royal capital are secretly in love with this lass, but someone seems to be possessed. As the sound of her voice faded, Nolan giggled as she left the area, giving Qin Wendian and Mo Qingcheng some space to themselves. This caused Mo Qingcheng and Qin Wendian to be speechless. Especially the words spoken by that lass, it was extremely ambiguous. This caused the two of them to be silent for a moment, not knowing what to say. Qin Wendian glanced at Mo Qingcheng. Her flawless jade-like skin, her slender figure, and her beautiful countenance. It was as though he could even feel her breathing. Unknowingly, Qin Wentian was already in a daze as he stared at her. The temptation of a beauty was too great for a youth of his age, especially when the beauty in front of him treated him very well. At this moment, Qin Wentian couldn't help but think, if Mo Qingqing really became his lover, what kind of scene would it be? As he thought about it, Qin Wentian was actually somewhat entranced. Mo Qingqing felt the gaze of Qin Wentian, and a shy expression appeared on her face, causing her to be even more stunned. However, that fellow was still staring at her, causing Mo Qingqing to stomp her feet. What are you looking at? Eh? Qin Wentian blinked his eyes, as though only now did he realize that he had lost his composure. He couldn't help but smile awkwardly. Naturally, I'm looking at a beauty. Humph, Mo Qingqing snorted lightly, but naturally, she wasn't angry. This kind of coquettish appearance contained a hint of simplicity and cuteness. Oh yeah, why were you so rash? Why did you fall into the 9 mystical palaces trap? Not only that, since you have the strength to obtain first place in the Junlin banquet, you should have informed the Emperor's Star Academy about it. Do you know how dangerous it was this time around? Luckily, you were lucky. Mo Qingqing's voice contained hints of rebuke in it. This fellow was truly too audacious, causing everyone to break out in cold sweat for him. For a power like the 9 mystical palace, how would I know that they would use such despicable methods? Qin Wentian bitterly smiled. Humph, you can't be so careless in the future. The purpose of the 9 mystical palace this time around was to allow Luo Qianqiu to obtain the top position in the Junlin banquet. How could they not plot against you? Mo Qingqing was speechless. This fellow had suffered so much, yet his thoughts were still so simple. Naturally, since he didn't think that others would harm him, this also proved that his heart was kind and simple. Although he was a little stupid, it was still extremely rare. If Qin Wentian was really like Chu Tianjiao and Yi Wuke, intelligent yet proficient in scheming, Mo Qingqing wouldn't have been so close to him. What kind of person she was, would naturally be the type of person she liked to be with. Many thanks for the reminder, beautiful lady. Qin Wentian laughed. It seemed like he had to learn his lesson in the future. If it wasn't for Senior Hang's presence this time around, things would have been extremely difficult to resolve. After all, Luo Qianqiu's father, Luo Tianya, had personally appeared. The current him could only look up to such existences at the Heavenly Dipper realm. Qin Wentian would never be able to forget Luo Tianya's domineering aura. I didn't expect you to have learned how to be so glib-tongued. Mo Qingqing giggled as she stared at Qin Wentian. If not, wouldn't I be called a Dumbo by others again? Qin Wentian shrugged his shoulders as he laughed, causing Mo Qingqing's beautiful eyes to flicker as she giggled. So it turned out that this Dumbo still remembered the snowy scenery from that day. Mo Qingqing didn't know that the experience of being together with someone like her was something that no one would be able to forget so easily. At this moment, the sound of footsteps drifted over from the courtyard. Qin Wentian inclined his head and cast his gaze behind him as he asked, "Who's there?" No one replied. The sound of footsteps continued, causing Qin Wentian to furrow his brows. Usually, when people came to his residence, they would first inform him of their arrival, unless it was someone who had a very good relationship with him. But at this moment, the silhouette in front of him was wearing a conical bamboo hat and had his head lowered. He didn't know who this person was, but this person actually dared to come to his residence for no reason at all. "Who are you?" Qin Wentian's voice grew colder as he unhappily asked. This was his private residence. Students of the 4th level and above were all allowed to have their own private residence within the Emperor's Star Academy. Be careful. Mo Qingqing warned in a low voice. The silhouette continued walking forward, causing Qin Wentian to feel a trace of an unusual aura. I am. The silhouette slowly spoke, as he inclined his head. Qin Wentian saw a masked face, completely covered by a black veil, revealing only a pair of eyes that were incomparably sharp. Abruptly, a terrifying killing intent erupted forth from the silhouette, as though it was a hurricane of killing intent, gushing straight towards Qin Wentian. The person who will kill you. As the sound of his voice faded, the silhouette soared through the air and abruptly blasted out a palm imprint towards Qin Wentian. This was actually the innate technique Qin Wentian had cultivated before, the Thousand Hands imprint. As the palm imprint descended, it was as though an innumerable number of palm imprints blasted towards Qin Wentian, containing a terrifying might. Qin Wentian's countenance stiffened. Abruptly, an ancient halberd appeared in his hands as he took a step forward. Although he knew that the silhouette was in existence at the Yuanfu realm, he didn't hesitate to advance. He didn't retreat because Mo Qingcheng was right beside him. Retreat. Mo Qingcheng's beautiful countenance stiffened, as she dashed forwards. However, although Qin Wentian was in a daze, his reaction speed was shockingly fast. The ancient halberd in his hands slashed out in rage, colliding with the silhouette's palm imprint. Qin Wentian, who was at the arterial circulation realm, had no way to withstand such a fearsome attack. With a thunderous boom, the ancient halberd in his hands was directly flung out of his hands, while his body spat out mouthfuls of blood. He slammed into a stone chair, shattering it into pieces. One could see how tyrannical the strength of the silhouette's attack was. At this moment, Mo Qingcheng's aura completely erupted forth, exuding the aura of someone at the Yuanfu realm. This scene caused the silhouette to be momentarily stunned, but it was only for an instant. He had to kill Qin Wentian in the shortest time possible, or he would lose his chance. Taking a step forward, his killing intent surged to the extreme, as he ferociously blasted out a few terrifying palm imprints towards Mo Qingcheng. The palm imprints blotted out the skies and covered the earth as they blasted towards Mo Qingcheng, causing her internal organs to tremble violently as she retreated unceasingly. She had no way to block the silhouette's advance. Run, he can only kill you in the shortest amount of time possible. Mo Qingcheng howled, as though she was informing the experts of the Emperor Star Academy. Qin Wentian also knew that Mo Qingcheng was right. He had never imagined that there would be someone who would dare to act against him in the Emperor Star Academy. Ren Qianqing had also been too careless. He only wanted to ensure Qin Wentian's safety when Qin Wentian exited the academy tomorrow. However, it was obvious that his opponent was extremely intelligent as well. Not only was he intelligent, he had even infiltrated the Emperor Star Academy's internal affairs. Bzzz, a raging wind gusted by as Qin Wentian directly flung out his ancient halberd. However, he was completely unable to block the attack of his opponent. The silhouette of the silhouette slammed out with a palm strike, causing the ancient halberd to fly out of his hands. His body floated in the air as he lunged towards Qin Wentian. Executing the Garuda movement technique, Qin Wentian's speed was akin to a phantom as he retreated. He only needed a short amount of time. His opponent wouldn't have any intentions of harming Mo Qingcheng, he only needed to stall for time. Who dares to be so impudent in the academy? A roar of rage echoed out, shaking the skies above the Emperor Star Academy. This caused the eyes of the silhouette to flicker, as traces of impatience could be seen in his eyes. Naturally, this Yuanfu cultivator wouldn't send himself to his death after killing Qin Wentian. At his level, it was impossible for him to willingly become a death warrior for others. Little White. Mo Qingcheng seemed to have sensed his gaze as she called out to the white crane. The white crane swooped down from the skies, its sharp claws directly grabbing towards the silhouette. Scram! That silhouette exploded with rage as he punched out with his palm. However, the white crane was a 7th-level demonic beast, and its strength was comparable to Wu Xiu, who was at the Yuanfu realm. How could it escape so easily? That silhouette was completely enraged as he blasted out a few more attacks. The white crane screeched in agony as it fell to the side, while that silhouette continued to lunge towards the fleeing Qin Wentian. Too late. That silhouette's eyes were filled with anxiety. He gathered a terrifying amount of energy and blasted out an incomparably sharp aura towards Qin Wentian, wanting to penetrate through Qin Wentian's body. Collapse. Mo Qingqing had already closed in on Qin Wentian when the white crane was delaying the silhouette. At this moment, she directly lunged towards Qin Wentian, causing Qin Wentian's body to fall to the ground. The terrifying sharpness of her aura brushed past his back, causing him to feel an extreme coldness. There's not enough time. That silhouette's countenance was extremely unsightly to behold. He blasted out another palm imprint, and after which, he ignored the life and death of Qin Wentian and Mo Qingqing. He turned and fled with the speed of lightning. If he delayed any longer, his life would surely be spared. A thunderous sound echoed out. After which, Qin Wentian felt a terrifying force slamming into him, causing him to cough out a mouthful of blood. However, he didn't have the time to care about his injuries. Right now, he only wanted to know how the silhouette on his back was faring. Qingqing. Qin Wentian called out. At this moment, he felt his heart pounding violently. He was actually so afraid. A drop of fresh blood dripped onto the ground beside Qin Wentian, causing Qin Wentian to feel as though his heart was being stifled. At this moment, he was truly afraid, a fear that originated from the depths of his heart. He didn't even dare to move his body. I'm fine. A light voice drifted out. However, when this voice entered into Qin Wentian's ears, it was like a heavenly melody. The weight on his back suddenly lightened. That silhouette rolled down to his side, directly facing him. Mo Qingqing's countenance was just inches away from him, causing people to hold their breaths. Looking at the haggard and pale countenance, as well as the bloodstains at the corners of her mouth, Qin Wentian deeply felt his own helplessness. How dangerous. Mo Qingqing smiled at him. That smile of hers was so heartbreaking that it could shatter the hearts of others. Who was it? Who dared to kill him in the Emperor's Star Academy? Qin Wentian howled in rage in his heart, as an intense killing intent surged forth. Who was it exactly? After the Junlin banquet, they didn't hesitate to pay any price to kill him. Qin Wentian stretched out his trembling hands, gently stroking the bloodstains at the corners of Mo Qingqing's mouth. He also smiled, but his heart was as cold as ice. Are you really fine? Qin Wentian asked in a low voice. I still have some medicinal pills. Mo Qingqing retrieved a medicinal pill from her robes and fed it to herself. After which, she turned to Qin Wentian and asked, Can you help me up? As she spoke, a faint blush could be seen on her pale face. Qin Wentian nodded his head. After which, he helped Mo Qingqing up as he spoke, Rest well. Okay. Mo Qingqing closed her eyes and began to meditate. At this moment, more and more people arrived. They were frantically searching the skies, and at the same time, there were also people who came down to check on Qin Wentian and Mo Qingqing's injuries. Who dares to act so audaciously? Old Gu had an expression of pity on his face when he saw that Mo Qingqing was injured. The culprit had already fled before we arrived, and didn't even have the time to kill Wentian. Evidently, he knew that he wouldn't be able to make it in time. But in such a short period of time, it's impossible for someone to escape from the academy under our watch. In the air, Ren Qianqing's countenance turned ashen. He had been too careless. He had thought of the possibility of an assassination happening outside the academy, but he didn't expect that it would actually happen within the academy. Are you saying that there's a traitor in our Emperor Star Academy? Old Gu's eyes gleamed with sharpness, as his killing intent intensified. The killing intent radiating from Qin Wentian was similarly intense. He had displayed his brilliance during the Junlin banquet. It seemed like there was someone who wanted him dead. Chapter 150. In the Emperor's Star Academy, the surroundings of Qin Wentian's courtyard were soon filled with chaos. He was surrounded by layers upon layers of encirclement. Qin Wentian had just obtained the position of the top ranker in the Junlin banquet when he was assassinated. To the Emperor's Star Academy, this was something they couldn't tolerate. If they didn't find out who the assassin was, there was a possibility that something like this would happen again. Wentian, What technique did the assassin use? Old Gu walked to the side of Qin Wentian as he inquired. The thousand hands imprint. Other than that, the only other technique he could unleash was the sharpness of his sword qi. However, I don't think that's the case. The assassin was intentionally hiding his strength, and didn't dare to release his astral soul. Qin Wentian replied. Indeed. Old Gu nodded. The thousand hands imprint was a forbidden technique in the 5th level of the Heavenly Star Pavilion. There were still many people who could obtain it and cultivate it. Immediately send someone to ask the guards of the 5th level of the Heavenly Star Pavilion if there's anyone who borrowed the thousand hands imprint recently. In the past month, bring out all of them. Ren Qianqing stood in the air as he spoke. Right now, he was extremely angry. As the people below departed, several elders flew over. Their countenances were all extremely unsightly as they asked, "There's someone who wanted to deal with Qin Wentian?" How audacious. They all coldly spoke, only to see Ren Qianqing staring at them as he asked, "Among you, who was the one who gathered together with you?" The countenances of the elders froze as they felt a chill in their hearts. Ren Qianqing was suspecting one of them. The assassination this time is no small matter. Everyone is a suspect, and it has already been confirmed that there's a spy in our Emperor Star Academy. Although this has nothing to do with any of you, in order to ferret out the culprit, we have to investigate thoroughly. Ren Qianqing's words caused the elders to nod their heads. One of them spoke, "Yao Feng and I saw them on the way here, and we knew that something big had happened. Hence, we came over to take a look." Qin Wentian's gaze shifted to the person who spoke. This person was none other than Janice. "Janice and I have some enmity. Maybe he wants to kill me, but this place is the Emperor Star Academy. He wouldn't take such a risk and act against me at such a sensitive time." Qin Wentian thought to himself. He could only say that there was a possibility that it was Jiang Zhen, but the possibility was still relatively small. Ren Qianqing was silent for a moment, before he continued, "In these 2 days, all the Yuanfu cultivators of the Emperor Star Academy are to make a trip to the Law Enforcement Hall. Match up all the traces of your movements, and we will eliminate all of you. Please cooperate with us." Ren Qianqing's words caused the hearts of the spectators to involuntarily tremble. Wasn't he planning to investigate the entire academy? Not only that, Yuanfu realm cultivators were all existences with high statuses in the academy. Yet, Ren Qianqing still wanted to investigate. It seemed like he wouldn't stop until he found the culprit. From this, one could see how much importance he placed on Qin Wentian. "Alright, you guys can go now." After Ren Qianqing finished speaking, the crowd left one after another. Then, he said to Qin Wentian, "You two take good care of yourself. Leave this matter to me." "Alright." Qin Wentian nodded his head, as he sat down and looked at Mo Qingcheng. He didn't have any problems with this, but if it wasn't for Mo Qingcheng earlier, there wouldn't be a Qin Wentian today. Thinking of this, Qin Wentian's heart turned exceptionally cold. The countenance of the young girl in front of him gradually turned rosy, and Qin Wentian also gradually calmed down. The effects of medicinal pills were truly astonishing. No wonder powerful alchemists were even rarer than weaponsmiths. After sitting down for a long time, Qin Wentian saw that Mo Qingcheng's countenance had regained its original rosy color, and there was even a hint of redness in her cheeks. Upon seeing such a scene, his Dao heart involuntarily pounded. If you continue to stare at her like that, she won't even dare to open her eyes. It was unknown when Nolan had arrived. As the sound of her voice faded, Mo Qingcheng opened her eyes. Her beautiful eyes were like water, regaining their luster. She rolled her eyes at Qin Wentian, as traces of shyness could be seen on her face. "Don't talk nonsense." Mo Qingcheng stood up and spoke to Nolan, her words causing Qin Wentian to blink his eyes as he sat there. After which, a smile appeared on his face. Seems like it was because he was staring at Mo Qingcheng that she didn't dare to open her eyes. "Little White, I have wronged you. Mo Qingcheng also fed a medicinal pill to her white crane. Qin Wentian stood up, staring at the back view of Mo Qingcheng. She turned around, and her beautiful eyes were smiling at him. He still couldn't say a single word of thanks. It wasn't that he didn't want to, it was just that it wasn't enough to express his feelings. In the future, such a thing will definitely not happen again. I will protect you. Qin Wentian choked out, causing Mo Qingcheng's beautiful eyes to blink as she blushed. Who needs your protection? After which, she mounted the back of the white crane. Little White, let's go. Nolan also stepped forward, smiling as she glanced at Qin Wentian. Your skin is pretty thick. The white crane soared into the skies, as the beautiful woman flew away. Qin Wentian inclined his head and stared at the skies as a silly smile appeared on his face. The words spoken earlier were somewhat ambiguous. Not only that, Mo Qingcheng's cultivation base was already at the Yuanfu realm. How could he protect her now? Thinking of this, Qin Wentian silently turned and continued his cultivation. His conviction to become stronger grew stronger and stronger. In the depths of the dark forest, the pitch-black castle was completely silent, as though it was an abandoned place. Within the black castle, there were numerous prisons constructed from tough and cold metal. In the corners of these cold prisons, one could occasionally see the silhouettes of living humans. This was an ice-cold prison. Inside, other than Yin Qi, there was only Yin Qi. The sound of footsteps could be heard, as though it was the only sound in the entire black castle. Qin Chuan. Abruptly, a cold voice drifted over. Within one of the prisons, Qin Chuan opened his turbid eyes as he flicked his disheveled long hair, staring at the silhouette outside the prison. It seemed that it wasn't time for food to be delivered yet, right? After which, he heard the sound of the lock being unlocked. This scene caused a cold light to flash in Qin Chuan's eyes. What tricks did this person want to play? Someone entered and unlocked the shackles on his body, causing Qin Chuan to feel bewildered. Let's go. Where to? Qin Chuan coldly asked. Come out. That person didn't reply. Qin Chuan furrowed his brows, but he still followed him out of the prison. The person in front led Qin Chuan out, while the person behind locked the prison. After which, he glanced at the prison opposite him and coldly snorted, what a dog-shit lucky fellow. The adopted son he adopted actually managed to obtain the top position in the Junlin banquet. After speaking, he departed as well. The prison opposite them was still as cold as ever. At this moment, a figure curled up in the corner of the prison opened his eyes. His turbid and aged eyes gleamed with sharpness. This person was naturally Qin Chuan's father, Qin Wu. Outside the black stronghold, Qin Chuan breathed in the fresh air, feeling the humidity of the morning air. A puzzled expression appeared on his face. At this moment, all the shackles on his body had already been unlocked. Not only that, there were only 2 people left beside him who weren't that strong. The words "you are free" reverberated in his ears, causing him to feel a sense of surrealism in his heart. Was this a conspiracy? After standing there for a long time, Qin Chuan finally spoke, where are we going? To the royal capital. Let's go. One of the 2 spoke. A few silhouettes stepped into the dark forest. The sunlight gradually warmed up. Qin Chuan and the others continued on their way out of the dark forest, finally exiting it. Once again, he saw lively silhouettes. This time, the atmosphere wasn't as lifeless as it used to be. However, all of this didn't matter. Because, Qin Chuan saw 2 familiar faces. Father. Qin Yao's eyes flickered with tears. She rushed over and dove headfirst into Qin Chuan's embrace. Qin Wentian also walked to Qin Chuan's side as he called out, Father. Yao Wentian, what's going on? Qin Chuan asked in puzzlement. Qin Yao moved her head away from Qin Chuan's embrace. A radiant smile could be seen on her face as she replied, Father, it's Wentian. He became the champion of the Junlin banquet. Now, not only does the Emperor's Star Academy and the Divine Weapon Pavilion support him, there's also a Heavenly Dipper sovereign who wants the third Prince Chu Tianjiao to release him. Champion of the Junlin Banquet, Heavenly Dipper sovereign from the Emperor's Star Academy and Divine Weapon Pavilion. Qin Chuan was momentarily stunned as he fell silent. Staring at Qin Wentian, he inclined his head and drew in a deep breath. Qin Chuan's cloudy eyes were filled with tears. Taking a step forward, Qin Chuan embraced Qin Wentian in his arms. Tears streamed down his face, yet a gratified smile could be seen on his face. Everyone says that my son can't cultivate, but I, Qin Chuan, have always believed that when my son explodes forth with radiance, he would be able to make everyone else stand on the ground and look up to him. Qin Chuan's voice was filled with emotions. With a son like this, what more could a husband ask for? Although they weren't blood-related, they were still like blood-related children. Champion of the Junlin Banquet, I'm afraid that autumn snow isn't even worthy of carrying my son's shoes. Qin Chuan was still brooding over the actions of the Bai clan in the past. His Qin clan didn't mind, but back then, autumn snow wanted to use the cruelest methods to humiliate Qin Wentian. Father, when Wentian became the champion of the Junlin Banquet, Autumn Snow and Bai Qingsong were both in awe. Autumn Snow didn't even have the qualifications to participate, and could only look up to him from afar. Qin Yao smiled. Father, everything is in the past now. Qin Wentian drew in a deep breath. Yes, let's talk on the way. Qin Yao laughed. The guards escorting Qin Chuan turned and departed. Following behind Qin Wentian were a few other experts from the Emperor's Star Academy. Upon seeing Qin Chuan, they all nodded their heads. These seniors are Yuanfu realm experts from the Emperor's Star Academy, and are here to protect Wentian. Qin Yao explained, causing Qin Chuan to be even more shocked. Now that Wentian was out, there were already Yuanfu realm experts protecting him. From this, one could see how much importance the Emperor's Star Academy placed on Qin Wentian. Qin Chuan was incomparably gratified that this youth had finally grown up. In the royal palace, in a luxurious room, Chu Tianjiao sat on the ground, staring at the dragon couch in front of her. Over there, a silhouette laid there, his countenance somewhat pale. Father, your son is useless. I can only watch as your condition worsens, yet I'm helpless to do anything. Chu Tianjiao spoke with guilt in his voice. I don't blame you. I'll go there at any time. Tomorrow, I'll pay a visit to the ancestor. From now on, I'll leave the Chu country to you. The silhouette on the dragon couch quietly stated. Is the ancestor still around? Chu Tianjiao asked. Of course. However, only the emperor can enter the Dragon Pool Pavilion. This is the rule of our Chu clan. After you inherit the throne, you should pay a visit to the ancestor. Although the ancestor doesn't care about the matters of the outside world, if the Chu clan really reaches a point of life and death, the ancestor would definitely be there. Also, if you have any matters, you should consult your elder brother. Although he's disappointed in me, he's ultimately still the bloodline of the Chu clan. That person sighed. It seemed that the Emperor of Chu didn't disregard the eldest prince of the Chu country as much as the common people imagined. On the contrary, he had always been clear about how outstanding his eldest son was. Chapter 151. Chu Tianjiao left his father's room. The people of Chu didn't know that the Emperor of Chu had always been bedridden. Even those high-grade medicinal pills had no effect on his illness. The Chu king could still faintly remember that this illness of his was only discovered after the death of Qin Wu, and after the Qin clan was transferred from the royal capital to the Sky Harmony City. Gradually, his illness worsened. Chu Tianjiao arrived at a great hall. In front of him, there were a few iron-blooded guards standing on both sides. Their bodies were as straight as spears, unmoving, as though they were statues. Firstly, gather 10 Yuanfu dragon guards here. Today, no one is allowed to get close to my father. Remember, no one. Secondly, at the front lines, execute the decapitation plan. Thirdly, inform the Black Stronghold to increase their strength and protect Qin Wu to the death. Fourthly, all the commanders of the armies in the royal palace are to keep a close watch on their family members. If there are any signs of their family members moving, immediately control them or kill them. Fifthly. Chu Tianjiao paused for a moment before continuing, forget it, I will personally negotiate with the 9 mystical palace. This time around, the champion of the Junlin banquet was seized by the Emperor's Star Academy, and not the 9 mystical palace. Most probably, the 9 mystical palace wouldn't wait for another opportunity. Now, it was time to slowly erode the heart of Chu. Luo Tianya and his son should be able to get people to cooperate with him. Those statue-like guards silently vanished, as though they had never appeared before, to carry out Chu Tianjiao's orders. Chu Tianjiao turned his head and cast a glance at the depths of the great hall, at the heavily guarded room. He didn't believe that anyone would be able to infiltrate this place. After Chu Tianjiao issued his orders, the entire Chu country began to operate like a machine. The largest transportation network in Chu, the Sky Transport Network, also seemed to be bustling with activity. And at the same time he issued his orders, the cold and gloomy castle in the dark forest was still as cold as ever. A horse carriage arrived at the entrance of the Black Stronghold. After which, the cold gates of the Black Stronghold slowly opened as a group of silhouettes walked out, entering the Black Stronghold. This group of silhouettes directly arrived at the entrance of a prison cell. Staring at the silhouette seated within, one could see that it was none other than Qin Wu. Open the door, the person holding the token outside the cell said coldly. The guard glanced at him. Although he was a little hesitant, he still unlocked the key and opened the cell. The figure holding the token entered with the guard and continued, open his shackles. No. The guard refused. No one had such authority. Puchi. Just as his voice fell, a sharp long dagger directly pierced his heart from behind. At the same time, a hand covered his mouth. The dagger stirred and the man's eyes slowly closed. The one with the command tile found the key, and then undid the shackles on Qin Hao's body, undoing the tattered clothes on his body. Qin Hao's eyes were still closed as he slowly stood up. Someone walked in, took out a new set of clothes and draped them over his body, as if he was doing something extremely ordinary. Someone intercepted the prisoner. Suddenly, a patrolling guard noticed the situation here and immediately issued a warning. The figures who had just entered began to move, releasing a silent killing intent like flickering ghosts. Qin Hao's eyes finally opened. There was no sharpness in them, only calmness. Is everything prepared? Qin Hao inquired. Not yet. That person replied. However, Qin Hao didn't have any strange expressions on his face, as though he had already expected this. Young Master Chuan has been rescued, the balance of power has been disturbed. Chu Tianjiao is already preparing to act. If we don't act now, Chu Tianjiao might execute the general at any time. We can only act earlier. That person spoke methodically. He still referred to Qin Hao as general. In the end, we still have to be enemies with Chu. Qin Chuan sighed as he stared at the ice-cold prison in front of him. From the moment the Wu King passed away, it was already destined. The 12 generals swore an oath to avenge the Wu King. The coming-of-age ceremony of their descendants is to swear this blood oath. However, the generals have been enduring this all this while. My father and the other uncles could only retreat in order to advance, recuperating and building up their strength. That person spoke in a low voice. However, his voice was exceptionally heavy, containing an iron-blooded aura. It was as though even the death of the Wu King had a history that no one knew of. Once, when the Wu King shook the heavens and earth, the late emperor was able to sit on the throne and rule over the world. However, when the rabbits died, the dogs roared. That period of history, only the generals of Chu who fought on the front lines knew the inside story. As for the people of Chu, it was merely a baseless rumor. Nobody knew what had happened back then. But that period of history, although it seemed exceptionally peaceful, there was already a terrifying storm brewing behind it. Outside the Black Stronghold, the killing intent permeated the air as a mysterious troop of soldiers unknowingly arrived. These people were all clad in armor, with helmets on their heads, resembling true soldiers. Their facial features couldn't be seen clearly, but their strength was terrifying to the extreme. They were the elites of the elites. In fact, after the Wu King passed away, the Qin clan moved to Sky Harmony City. The elites of the Wu guards were no longer in the Qin clan, and were scattered all over the place. Naturally, Chu Tianjiao also knew some clues. Given how vast Chu was, their intelligence network was naturally extremely terrifying. Hence, Chu Tianjiao had never once thought of killing Qin Wu and Qin Chuan. He was almost certain that as long as Qin Wu died, the Chu country would instantly sink into a terrifying vortex. The power hidden in the darkness was sufficient to cause the royal family to tremble. Chu Tianjiao didn't make a move, neither did Qin Wu. This balance was maintained for an entire year. But following the Junlin banquet, this balance seemed to have been pried open, causing the balance to tilt. Hence, Chu Tianjiao decided not to wait any longer. Today, the messengers from the Sky Transport Network, as well as the intelligence agencies from the other powers, all started to move. They headed to various locations in Chu, and even to other countries. It was as though a terrifying hurricane was about to occur in Chu. And with regards to everything that was happening, other than an extremely small number of people in Chu, the rest had no idea. Everyone was still living their own lives, some were dangerous, some were ordinary. In fact, even Qin Chuan didn't know about this. Qin Wu had never mentioned this to him before. Qin He and Qin Yi, who were fighting on the front lines, were naturally the same. As for Qin Wentian, he naturally didn't know. In his heart, Grandpa Qin Wu had always been a gentle person, and didn't seem like a general who had gone through countless battles. He liked to be quiet, had an amiable personality, and rarely moved about outside. Other than this, Qin Wentian didn't have much of an impression of him. In fact, Qin Chuan rarely went to disturb Qin Wu. The two of them didn't meet often, and Qin Chuan rarely went to disturb Qin Wu, who liked to be quiet. In the manner that Qin Wentian stayed in, Qin Yao personally prepared a banquet. The family of three ate happily, enjoying the simple happiness that they hadn't experienced in a long time. It's the Memorial Day again. It's already been a whole year. I wonder if your mother is still in Sky Harmony City. Qin Chuan thought of his wife, and felt some sadness in his heart. She must have been very worried about him during this 1 year. Father, Mother should have returned to Sky Harmony City. When do you plan to set off? Let's go back to see Mother and make her happy. Qin Yao happily added some food to Qin Chuan's bowl. Qin Chuan nodded his head. There's still second and third brother. I'm not too sure about their whereabouts. Naturally, the most important thing is still your grandpa. He's still suffering in the Black Stronghold. Grandpa will be fine. Qin Wentian laughed, as though he was consoling Qin Chuan. Good child, when you grow up, you will be even more powerful. At that time, even the royal clan of Chu would have to fear you. Qin Chuan ruffled Qin Wentian's hair. The current Qin Wentian was much more mature compared to a year ago. But regardless of whether he grew up or not, in Qin Chuan's heart, he would always be a child. On the way back, Qin Chuan had been listening to Qin Yao talking about how powerful Qin Wentian was. Qin Chuan was filled with gratification. Evidently, he hadn't expected that Qin Wentian would be able to reach this step in the short span of a year. Junior brother Qin. At this moment, a silhouette walked over, stopping in the distance as he called out to Qin Wentian. Senior brother, is there something you need? Qin Wentian stood up and walked over. This person was the person who was investigating the assassination, and had been protecting him for the past 2 days. The Emperor's Star Academy had placed a great deal of importance on yesterday's incident. With regards to the person who tried to assassinate you, the Academy has already made some guesses. I'm afraid that the results will be out very soon. Qin Wentian's eyes flickered, as a sharp glint flashed in his eyes. Thank you for your hard work. There's one more thing. Over at the Emperor Star Academy's side, he wants us to hand over Qin Yao. He wants to bring her back to Snowcloud Country. The person continued. It's best if you tell his people to scram. A cold light flickered in Qin Wentian's eyes. Everything that had happened at the Junlin banquet had already proven Xiao Lv's stance. The Academy will naturally handle this matter. One last thing, Old Ren wants to know when you are preparing to head to the Heavenly Star Pavilion. That person laughed, as though this was the real purpose of his visit. Ren Qianxing hoped that Qin Wentian would be able to head to the 7th level of the Heavenly Star Pavilion as soon as possible. I will head there as soon as possible. Qin Wentian replied. He also wanted to know what secrets the Heavenly Star Pavilion held, to be able to cause the 9 mystical palace to place so much importance on it. Back then, Luo Tianya had a falling out with the Emperor Star Academy because of the Heavenly Star Pavilion, and now, the 9 mystical palace wanted Luo Qianxiu to enter the 7th level. Okay, work hard. That person patted Qin Wentian on his shoulders before departing. In his heart, he was also very curious about the 7th level of the Heavenly Star Pavilion. Sadly, he had never obtained the first ranking of the Junlin banquet, and naturally didn't have the qualifications to enter. Instead, he hoped that Qin Wentian would be able to unravel the secrets within. Chapter 152. A day had already passed since the assassination attempt on Qin Wentian, yet the Emperor Star Academy was still as apprehensive as ever. However, the security around the academy was no longer as tight as before, allowing people to enter and leave freely. After Janus exited the Emperor Star Academy, he strolled along the streets of the royal capital. His gaze was calm, yet it was unknown what he was thinking about. This time around, regarding the assassination attempt by Qin Wentian, the Emperor Star Academy's investigation was simply too terrifying. Not only that, the Emperor Star Academy had interrogated every single Yuanfu realm cultivator in detail. Not only that, they had to have 3 witnesses. If they couldn't find any clues, they would continue to push the timeline back, and investigate what all the Yuanfu realm cultivators in the academy were doing before the assassination attempt. With such a terrifying level of investigation, those who were not suspicious would be investigated one by one. The truth would come to light sooner or later. It was only a matter of time. Janus furrowed his brows, as though he was thinking about something. At this moment, he abruptly halted his steps. The aura he exuded instantly exploded forth as he released his astral souls. Bzzz, from the side, a long spear shot forth like a venomous snake, akin to a bolt of lightning. Janus roared in rage, as a violent hurricane enveloped his body. He consecutively blasted out a few palm strikes, forcefully blocking the long spear in front of him. After which, several Yuanfu realm cultivators appeared around him. They were all masked and dressed in black, exuding killing intent as they advanced towards him. They didn't say anything. It was as though they were only here to kill Janus. Such a scene caused Janus's countenance to turn extremely unsightly. He angrily rebuked, "What? Do you want to silence me?" As the sound of his voice faded, Janus discovered that the people around him all halted their steps. This scene caused Janus's heart to pound, as his countenance instantly paled. He seemed to have realized that he had said the wrong thing. Indeed, the surrounding people all removed their masks, revealing their original appearances. Janus's countenance was as black as a sheet. "Everyone, what are you all doing?" These people who appeared were actually students from the Emperor Star Academy. Evidently, Janus had fallen into a trap. "Elder Jiangzhen, are you still going to pretend?" The person standing in front of Janus was none other than Elder Qian Shou of the Law Enforcement Hall. His gaze was ice-cold as he stated, "After this investigation, there are only 2 suspects remaining, and you are one of them." As expected, the truth was revealed after a single test. "Janus, who ordered you to do this?" Since Janus said that he wanted to silence Qin Wentian, it was clear that other than his original intention, there was someone else behind the scenes. Although Janus hated Qin Wentian, and both of them had a grudge against each other, it wasn't to the extent that he would take such a huge risk just because of a personal grudge. Before the assassination, he already knew that the risk was extremely high. But if he succeeded, everything would be worth it. He would leave the Emperor's Star Academy and leave Chu. Unfortunately, he failed. Who do you think has the power to make me work for him? Janus asked with a smile. Thousand Hands furrowed his brows. Janus's words seemed to be intentionally pushing the blame onto Chu Tianjiao. However, Thousand Hands was still skeptical of his words. Staring at Janus, a cold glint of light flickered in his eyes. Most probably, he wouldn't be able to get any information out of Janus. As an elder of the Emperor's Star Academy, you actually dared to assassinate someone from the elite academy. Your crime is punishable by death. Thousand Hands coldly stated, kill him on the spot. As the sound of his voice faded, the surrounding people all exploded forth with intense killing intent. Thousand Hands, you actually don't care about our friendship? No matter what, I'm still an elder of the academy, and have served for many years. How can you kill me just like that? Janus roared, his countenance turning extremely unsightly. Evidently, he didn't expect Thousand Hands to be so ruthless. However, how could Thousand Hands care about him? He directly turned and walked in the direction of the Emperor's Star Academy. Behind him, a battle erupted. Not long after, on the main road of the royal capital, a corpse quietly laid there. Beside the corpse, someone spoke, give him a proper burial. After all, he was an elder of the Emperor's Star Academy. The death of Janus, in the royal capital, was an extremely small matter. It only caused some ripples in the Emperor's Star Academy. However, in reality, it caused many undercurrents to flow in the dark. Using this incident, the Emperor's Star Academy forcefully expressed their stance. Not only that, they would continue to investigate who Janus had been in contact with, and who exactly was the mastermind behind this. When Qin Wentian received the news of Janus' death, he was stunned. That elder who had always been biased against him and made things difficult for him in every possible way, had actually died so silently. Not only that, the person who tried to assassinate him was actually Janus. Qin Wentian naturally wouldn't feel any pity for Janus. That time, not only did Janus almost take his life, he almost caused the death of Mo Qingqing as well. That scene of fresh blood dripping onto the ground, as well as the radiant smile on that beautiful countenance, was something that Qin Wentian would never be able to forget. At this moment, within the Emperor's Star Academy, in front of the Heavenly Star Pavilion, Qin Wentian inclined his head, staring at one of the most iconic buildings of the Emperor's Star Academy. The Heavenly Star Pavilion had a total of 9 levels, and the higher one went, the narrower the space would be. However, the number of people who had managed to enter the 7th level of the Emperor's Star Academy could be counted on one's fingers. Even the elders of the academy didn't have the authority to enter. As for exchanging Yuan meteor stones for it, it was simply impossible. Hence, the 7th level of the Heavenly Star Pavilion was prepared for the champion of the Junlin banquet. Qin Wentian shifted his gaze back as he stepped into the Heavenly Star Pavilion. After becoming the champion of the Junlin banquet, the grade of his Emperor's Star Jade Medallion was directly raised to the 7th level. Before entering the 7th level of the Heavenly Star Pavilion, Qin Wentian first went to the 6th level. Here, the best Yuanfu realm cultivation arts, as well as top-tier Earth-grade innate techniques could be found. Qin Wentian found the Yuanfu manual for the Garuda movement technique and borrowed it out, storing it in his interspatial ring. This movement technique was extremely important to him. As for the other top-tier Earth-grade innate techniques, Qin Wentian didn't bother looking at them. Currently, he had already cultivated several mid-tier Earth-grade innate techniques, yet he was still unable to reach the highest level. There was no meaning in trying to comprehend top-tier Earth-grade innate techniques. Although the higher the grade of the innate techniques, the more powerful they would be, if you didn't have the ability to control them, it would only produce the opposite effect. For example, the great dream halberd art he created himself. Although the grade of the innate technique wasn't that high, because it was created by him, it could be said to be perfect when used. Ascending the stairs to the 6th level, an old man quietly laid there. His entire body was covered with dust, and even his hair had turned silvery gray. It was unknown how many years it had been since he last moved. "Senior." Qin Wentian called out. "Go up." The old man seemed to know who it was as he spoke in a low voice. Qin Wentian didn't say anything else. He stood there and bowed to the old man. No one was allowed to enter the 7th level of the Heavenly Star Pavilion, but it was inevitable that there would be people who coveted it. There was no need to doubt the strength of the protector of this level. Qin Wentian arrived at the 7th level of the Heavenly Star Pavilion. Here, there was a bookshelf, and there seemed to be a small number of books on it. In addition to the bookshelves, there were 3 doors in different directions. 3 numbers were engraved on each of the doors. From left to right, they were 7, 8, and 9. It was as though these 3 doors represented the 7th, 8th, and 9th level of the Heavenly Star Pavilion. As for the higher levels, in fact, there was nothing at all. This mysterious 7th level, Qin Wentian had thought of many possibilities, but he didn't expect it to be so simple. There were only 3 doors and a single bookshelf. Qin Wentian first walked to the side of the bookshelf and flipped through it, as his heart trembled. To think that there was actually a Heavenly Dipper sovereign cultivation art here. This cultivation art should be sufficient to cause a huge commotion in Chu. However, Qin Wentian noticed a booklet beside the cultivation art. On it, a few words were engraved. War Beast Index. Qin Wentian flipped it open, and very quickly, he was deeply captivated by the contents. Above the 9 heavenly layers, there are countless constellations, each with their own merits. The strong would be stronger if they used them, while the weak would be weaker if they used them. However, the astral souls condensed from these constellations can be differentiated by their strength. The Venerate Heavens sect collected countless experts from the Grand Xia Empire, and chose the strongest 360 types of astral souls and recorded them into the War Beast Index. This sentence was the primer, and was also the origin of the War Beast Index. Venerate Heavens sect, Grand Xia Empire. Qin Wentian mumbled in a low voice. The Venerate Heavens sect should be an extremely tyrannical power, while the Grand Xia Empire should be a gigantic existence. Not only that, Qin Wentian had followed Uncle Black since he was young, and had done research on constellations below the 5th heavenly layer. He naturally knew that the astral souls condensed by stellar martial cultivators depended on the constellations they condensed, and these constellations could be differentiated by their strength. These constellations directly determined the strength of the astral soul condensed by Wu Xiu. However, Uncle Black had never categorized these astral souls, nor did he intentionally research on the astral souls of the War Beast constellations to rank them. Qin Wentian flipped open the War Beast Index, and there were pictures and words on it. Dual-winged horned python astral soul, ranked 360 in the War Beast Index. Its constellation is at the 4th heavenly layer, and the astral soul condensed from it is imbued with the ability to move spiritually. Its defense, attack, and defense are all tyrannical, and there's even a summoning-type stellar martial cultivator who summoned it. The dual-winged horned python astral soul is extremely tyrannical in terms of combat prowess. This was an astral soul ranked 360 in the War Beast Index. Sky Flame demonic lion astral soul, ranked 360 in the War Beast Index. Its constellation is at the 4th heavenly layer, and although Wu Xiu's agility is somewhat lacking, his attacks are extremely ferocious, and his defense is extremely strong as well. The Sky Flame demonic lion astral soul was ranked slightly higher than the dual-winged horned python astral soul. Its superiority in attack made up for the lack of agility. What a detailed summary. Qin Wentian slowly flipped through the War Beast Index. He knew a lot about these astral souls, but in order to create such a ranking, not only did it require an extremely high level of intelligence and judgment, it also needed to be updated frequently. Because at any time, new constellations would be discovered, and powerful astral souls would be condensed. Hence, this Warbeast Index was constantly changing. Qin Wentian was somewhat puzzled. Why would there be a Warbeast Index on the 7th level of the Heavenly Star Pavilion? Chapter 153. Qin Wentian carefully flipped through the Warbeast Index, memorizing it in his heart. Gradually, he had a rough idea of the ranking of the warbeasts in the index. After reading through the Warbeast Index, he picked up an extremely thin booklet beside it. On the cover of the booklet, there was also a line of words. The 7th level of the Heavenly Star Pavilion is located behind the first door. That place is one of the 18 training grounds of the Grand Xia Empire, the Spirit Beast Testing Grounds. Those below the Yuanfu realm can enter, but if they die within, they will forever be deprived of the opportunity to train in the Spirit Beast Testing Grounds. Only by obtaining the spirit of the top 10 war beasts in the Warbeast Index would one be able to enter the 8th level of the Heavenly Star Pavilion. This line of words was written with vigor, carefree and unrestrained. This was a note left behind by an expert. At the end of this note, there was also the name of the person who signed it, Azure Emperor. The founder of the Emperor Star Academy, Azure Emperor. Qin Wentian's heart trembled slightly. This note was left behind by the founder of the Emperor Star Academy. In that case, the Heavenly Star Pavilion must have been created by him as well. The first door should be the one on the left. Qin Wentian stared at the door with the word 7 engraved on it. He had never thought that the 7th level of the Heavenly Star Pavilion wasn't about any innate techniques or cultivation arts, but rather, a door. One of the 18 training grounds of the Grand Xia Empire, the Spirit Beast Testing Grounds. Qin Wentian walked towards the door, as he stretched out his hands, causing a brilliant light to flash. The door opened, revealing a praying mat in front of him. On top of the praying mat, there were many runic inscriptions that resembled mystical divine imprints. Qin Wentian walked in, and sat cross-legged on the praying mat. Instantly, the door closed, and the runic inscriptions on it shone brightly. Instantly, Qin Wentian's body was enveloped by a layer of light, and he felt as though his consciousness was about to be pulled out from his body. This feeling was extremely unbearable, but he still endured it. What exactly is this? Qin Wentian felt as though his consciousness had left his body, and he had no way to control it. This feeling of not being able to control his body was extremely unbearable. Bzzz, his body abruptly descended, and Qin Wentian finally felt his consciousness regaining control. However, when he looked at his surroundings, he couldn't help but be stunned. Is this the Spirit Beast Testing Grounds? Qin Wentian raised his hands and looked at them. They looked like real hands, but his body hadn't moved at all. Or was this place just like the Dream Sky Forest, a dreamland? But at this moment, he felt that it was much more real than a dream. It was as if he was really there. This was him, the original body of Qin Wentian. It was not a dream, nor was it an illusion. This was an open field, and there were many people around Qin Wentian. They instantly noticed Qin Wentian's presence, and many people looked at Qin Wentian with strange expressions. Why was there another person in the Spirit Beast Testing Grounds? Qin Wentian naturally noticed the existence of the surrounding crowd. These people were all very young, with an average age of 17 to 18 years old. The younger ones were only 15 to 16 years old, and the older ones were definitely not older than 20. Not only that, they were clearly divided into different factions, and the leader of each faction gave Qin Wentian an extraordinary feeling. This caused Qin Wentian to speculate that the people he came into contact with on the 7th level of the Heavenly Star Pavilion were people from outside of Chu. We agreed to gather here. It seems that the people from the various powers have all arrived. A young man spoke. This young man had a devilishly handsome countenance, and he was about 17 or 18 years old. His long hair was slightly curly, and his black eyes gleamed with a demonic light. It seems that they have all arrived. The other young man faintly replied, as an expression of interest flickered in his eyes when he looked at Qin Wentian. In the spirit beast testing grounds, those who had the qualifications to enter were all present. But in that case, where did these extra people come from? Such a scene was extremely interesting. Oi! A voice drifted over. Qin Wentian turned his gaze over, only to see a beautiful young lady looking at him. This young lady was around the same age as him, and was clad in luxurious clothing. Her lips curled into a faint smile, giving off a faint sense of arrogance. Elegant, beautiful, this was the feeling she gave Qin Wentian. What's your name, and where did you come from? The young lady smiled, as she curiously stared at Qin Wentian. This place is the spirit beast testing grounds. Qin Wentian didn't reply, but asked a question instead. You actually know that this is the spirit beast testing grounds? The beautiful eyes of the young lady flashed with a strange light, as she continued smiling. From what I know, those who have the qualifications to enter the spirit beast testing grounds are all here. In that case, what about you? Where did you come from? Chu. Qin Wentian replied. He wanted to see if these people knew of the existence of Chu. Chu. The young lady had a puzzled expression on her face. Have you guys heard of it? She glanced at the others. Evidently, the Chu country was a foreign country to them. What about the 9 Mystical Palace? Qin Wentian asked again. The 9 Mystical Palace controlled the Chu country, and could be considered as a major power. You are from the 9 Mystical Palace? The young lady giggled as she looked at Qin Wentian. Don't lie to me, people from the 9 Mystical Palace don't have the qualifications to enter the spirit beast testing grounds. Qin Wentian felt his heart trembling when he heard the words of the young lady. Even a power like the 9 Mystical Palace didn't have the qualifications to enter the spirit beast testing grounds. Could it be that the powers these people belonged to were all existences even more tyrannical than the 9 Mystical Palace? Why are you talking so much nonsense? Kill him. At this moment, the demon-like young man who spoke earlier calmly spoke. The gaze he used to look at Qin Wentian was filled with indifference. Although he was somewhat curious and taken aback by Qin Wentian's appearance, since he couldn't get any information out of him, there was no need for him to waste any more time. As the sound of his voice faded, another young man walked out from behind him. This young man also exuded a demonic aura, and with a single step, he dashed towards Qin Wentian. Boom! A fist light blasted out, and Qin Wentian felt a surge of demonic qi. It was as though he could see a flood dragon rushing towards him, wanting to devour him whole. A cold light flashed in Qin Wentian's eyes. Lifting his palms, he abruptly blasted out, executing the 3rd stance of the 1,000 Hands imprint, the Forgotten imprint. The might of his opponent's attack was boundless. Die! His opponent stabbed out with his left finger, akin to a sharp sword, aiming straight for Qin Wentian's head. The speed of his attack was as fast as lightning. With a twist of his body, Qin Wentian's footwork was exquisite to the extreme. After evading his opponent's attack, his falling mountain palms ferociously blasted out with the force of Mount Tai. Roar! His opponent opened his mouth and howled in rage, akin to a flood dragon, causing Qin Wentian's eardrums to vibrate, causing him to feel extremely unbearable. An intense coldness flickered in Qin Wentian's eyes. His footwork shuddered as his entire person transformed into a shadow. As he stabbed out with his finger, his eyes opened and closed, giving his opponent an unblockable feeling. At the same time, his finger was akin to an ancient halberd, instantly piercing through the center of his opponent's brows, causing his opponent to stiffen in place. After which, he softly slumped to the ground. The duration of this battle was extremely short. Qin Wentian had killed a person, but the gazes of the spectators didn't change at all. They only had the mentality of watching a good show. Qin Wentian couldn't be sure if this death was real or fake. But there was no doubt that the corpse was present, and it was even more realistic compared to the dream sky forest. It didn't seem like a dream at all. Not only that, although he had killed his opponent very quickly, based on his opponent's strength, if he were to participate in the Junlin banquet, he would definitely be able to contend for the top 9 rankings. How could Qin Wentian not be startled when he casually killed his opponent? Interesting. The young lady smiled as she saw this scene, as she shifted her gaze onto the demonic young man. A cold light flickered in the eyes of the demonic young man. Abruptly, his silhouette vanished from his original location. Qin Wentian only felt a demonic light rushing towards him. His opponent stretched out his palms, and in that instant, Qin Wentian felt as though his body was being restricted by an intense demonic light, causing him to be unable to move. Break! The divine energy on Qin Wentian's body surged as the demonic light destroyed everything in its path. He took a step forward as an intense aura gushed forth. However, the demonic young man didn't seem to feel anything. His ghost-like silhouette continued nearing, as he gently punched out with his palm. Qin Wentian blasted out with the falling mountain palms, and the two palms collided. The demonic young man didn't even move a single inch, while Qin Wentian felt a strange energy emanating from his opponent's palm. It was as though a palm imprint had penetrated into his body, wanting to destroy his arterial pathways, and was even moving towards his heart. Ignoring my physical attacks and defense. Qin Wentian's countenance stiffened. The divine energy within his body surged, as the mountain-type divine energy frenziedly defended against the strange energy, finally extinguishing it. However, Qin Wentian groaned in agony as he retreated repeatedly. Within his body, an unbearable feeling gushed forth. Qin Wentian stared at the demonic young man, only to see that the demonic young man's countenance was as per normal, with no signs of injury at all. How powerful! Qin Wentian silently exclaimed in his heart, as he glanced at the people in the surroundings. Were all their strengths so terrifying? If the demonic young man really came from a power stronger than the 9 mystical palace, then it wouldn't be surprising if he was even stronger than Luo Qianqiu. Upon seeing that Qin Wentian merely groaned in agony, the demonic young man couldn't help but to furrow his brows, as a strange expression appeared on his face. A cultivator at the 8th level of arterial circulation was actually able to receive a palm strike from him without dying. How rare! His body once again drifted towards Qin Wentian, as he struck out with the same palm imprint. It was as light as a feather, as though there wasn't any force behind it. An ancient halberd suddenly appeared in Qin Wentian's hands. His footsteps shuddered as he executed the mountain splitter stance of the Great Dream halberd art, advancing forward with an indomitable will. The demonic young man abruptly halted his steps, as the ancient halberd swept out with the mountain splitter stance, causing his opponent to retreat as a faint killing intent gushed forth from him. Scram! The ancient halberd in Qin Wentian's hands flew out, as the demonic young man dodged to the side. The ancient halberd embedded itself into the ground, but Qin Wentian didn't retrieve it. Instead, he turned and departed. His silhouette was akin to a Garuda, disappearing with lightning speed. His purpose here was none other than the spirit of the war beast. 9 Heavenly Garuda Movement Technique? The young lady exclaimed in shock, as the demonic young man's countenance stiffened. Their gazes shifted over at the same time, as they stared at a group of young men standing at the edge of the crowd. Are they from your Azure Emperor Palace? The demonic young man coldly asked. No, I don't recognize this person. Someone replied. This is too interesting. Other than the Azure Emperor Palace, is there anyone else who has cultivated the 9 Heavenly Garuda Movement Technique? The crowd mused, feeling that this matter was getting more and more interesting. Chapter 154. Qin Wentian sped through this space. At this moment, he was in a mountainous region, and he couldn't see anyone. He really wanted to find someone to understand the situation here, but those people he met earlier seemed to be repelling him. Hence, he wouldn't be able to get any useful information from them. However, since the Azure Emperor allowed him to come here to retrieve the war beast spirit, there must be a deeper meaning behind it. Suddenly, Qin Wentian felt a surge of coldness. Turning his gaze over, he saw a gigantic python. Not only that, this python had a pair of wings on its back and a horn on its head, giving off an extremely terrifying feeling. Dual-winged horned python, ranked 360th in the War Beast Index, and also last. Qin Wentian's gaze froze. He saw a war beast, and it was actually one of the War Beast Index's existences. This spirit beast testing ground was truly a wondrous place. The body of the dual-winged horned python floated in the air, its eyes filled with malice as it stared at Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian could clearly feel the hatred in its eyes. There were many demonic beasts in the 9 heavenly layers, and these demonic beasts could be found in their original forms. Nobody knew if these demonic beasts first appeared on the 9 heavenly layers, or if these demonic beasts first appeared on the 9 heavenly layers. Maybe, those experts at the peak of humanity would be able to unravel the mysteries within. The wings of the dual-winged horned python flickered as it floated in the air. Its long tongue flicked out, and its gigantic body dashed towards Qin Wentian with terrifying speed. At this moment, the dual-winged horned python was as terrifying as an enraged dragon. Qin Wentian's countenance turned heavy, as his aura erupted forth. The forgotten imprint of the 1,000-hand imprint blasted out, colliding with the horn of the dual-winged horned python. The palm imprint was actually shattered into pieces. The terrifying impact caused Qin Wentian to retreat. This dual-winged horned python was a demonic beast at the peak of the 6th grade, comparable to a cultivator at the peak of the arterial circulation realm. After Qin Wentian was forced back, the dual-winged horned python didn't stop its actions. Its gigantic tail swept out with terrifying speed. Qin Wentian stepped out with exquisite steps and used the 9th heaven rock skill. His speed was as fast as lightning, and he avoided the sweeping tail. Pooh! The double-winged horned python opened its bloody mouth and spat out several earth spears that pierced towards Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian seemed to have the shadow of the rock's wings behind him. He stepped into the void and leaped into the air, dodging the spear and heading straight for the double-winged horned python. Kill! Qin Wentian spat out a sharp sword, as beams of terrifying sword light slashed outwards. The double-winged horned python spat out another mouthful of air, and the earth spears appeared once more. Its gigantic body directly smashed towards Qin Wentian. With its terrifying speed, sharp feelers, and its gigantic body, if Qin Wentian were to be struck by its feelers, even if he didn't die, he would be heavily injured. His astral soul erupted forth. The astral heavenly hammer appeared in Qin Wentian's hands as he madly swung it about. The mountain-type divine energy within his stellar meridians erupted forth as the astral heavenly hammer smashed downwards. The double-winged horned python let out a terrifying roar, and the astral heavenly hammer in Qin Wentian's hands was shattered into pieces. However, this strike had also caused the double-winged horned python to tremble uncontrollably. Qin Wentian took another step forward, landing on its head. After which, the falling mountain palms frenziedly blasted towards the head of the double-winged horned python. Thunderous rumbling sounds reverberated through the air as the gigantic body of the double-winged horned python slammed into the ground. Its body gradually turned illusory. Is this the spirit of a war beast? Qin Wentian saw that the body of the double-winged horned python had actually turned illusory. A whirlpool appeared in his palms as he imprinted it onto the head of the double-winged horned python. The whirlpool devoured the illusory spirit of the double-winged horned python as a terrifying demonic chi gushed forth from Qin Wentian's body. At the same time, a demonic light flickered in his eyes. Is this a spirit of consciousness? After Qin Wentian devoured the spirit of the double-winged horned python, he could feel the spirit of a war beast attached to his body. This feeling was extremely intense. The double-winged horned python ranked at the bottom of the War Beast Index is actually so powerful. How strong would the war beasts ranked in the top 10 be? Qin Wentian was extremely shocked. Not only that, the double-winged horned python astral soul was condensed from the constellation of the fourth heavenly layer. If there was a summoning-type stellar martial cultivator, the strongest double-winged horned python they could summon would be at the heavenly dipper realm. And as for this double-winged horned python, its strength was suppressed to the pinnacle of the arterial circulation realm. Qin Wentian shifted his gaze, only to see a beautiful silhouette staring at him from afar. Her beautiful eyes flickered. It was none other than the female that had spoken to Qin Wentian earlier. "Are you really someone from the Nine Mystical Palace?" That beautiful silhouette slowly walked forward, clad in a sky-blue cloak. "No." Qin Wentian replied, "What about you? Who are you?" "How laughable. Since you know that this place is the spirit beast testing grounds, you actually don't know who we are?" The young lady stared at Qin Wentian, her tone as cold as ice. The first batch of people who had the qualifications to enter the spirit beast testing grounds were the 36 heavenly dipper sovereigns. Only the sects and clans they belonged to could enter, and after that, the keys of many of them were either destroyed or snatched away by others. Now, only the 9 transcendent powers can enter. "You actually don't know who we are?" "I'm not very familiar with the Grand Xia Empire," Qin Wentian replied. "Seems like the Chu country was really too small." "What level of power does the 9 mystical palace belong to in the Grand Xia Empire?" Qin Wentian inquired. The Grand Xia Empire has boundless territories, with millions of cities. Among them, the 9 continents is the most powerful, and there are several transcendent powers in the 9 continents. These transcendent powers govern the boundless territories of the Grand Xia Empire. The young lady emotionlessly replied, "The 9 mystical palace is one of the transcendent powers in the Qing continent, and they govern several small countries." Qin Wentian seriously listened, and combined with the map Mustang gave him, he had a rough understanding of the Grand Xia Empire. So it turned out that the Chu country was merely a subsidiary country of one of the transcendent powers in the Qing continent. Indeed, in the perspective of the entire continent, the Chu country was simply too small. The power she belongs to, the Green Cloud Pavilion, is also a transcendent power in the Qing continent. Not only that, when compared to the 9 mystical palace, it can only be stronger, not weaker. A voice drifted over from afar. Qin Wentian turned his gaze over, only to see a group of silhouettes walking over. "Yu Qingfeng, are you guys here to reunite?" The young lady smiled as she stared at the newcomers. These people were none other than members of the Azure Emperor Palace. "Can't I?" Yu Qingfeng laughed, before shifting his gaze onto Qin Wentian. "I know where you came from." Qin Wentian stared at Yu Qingfeng, as a strange light flickered in his eyes, waiting for Yu Qingfeng to continue. "A place named the Emperor's Star Academy." Yu Qingfeng spoke, causing Qin Wentian's eyes to flicker with a strange light. "And you are?" "I'm Yu Qingfeng, a member of the Azure Emperor Palace." "You probably don't know who the Azure Emperor is, right?" The Azure Emperor's original name is the Azure Emperor, a character from thousands of years ago. He single-handedly created the glory of the Azure Emperor Palace, and was ranked first among the 36 heavenly dippers. Yu Qingfeng spoke, causing Qin Wentian's heart to tremble. The Azure Emperor, ranked first among the 36 heavenly dippers. The Azure Emperor was also the founder of the Emperor's Star Academy. "I'm none other than Qin Wentian from the Emperor's Star Academy." Being able to meet someone from the Azure faction here, Qin Wentian naturally felt a sense of closeness. One could say that the Azure Emperor Palace and the Emperor's Star Academy shared the same roots and origins. "Brother Qin, the spirit beast testing grounds is extremely dangerous. Why don't we travel together? At least we can take care of each other. What do you think?" Yu Qingfeng straightforwardly spoke. Qin Wentian nodded his head. He had wanted to find someone to ask about the spirit beast testing grounds and what was going on. "Qianmenyu, do you want to come along?" Yu Qingfeng stared at the young girl as he asked. "No thanks." The young girl indifferently replied, before turning and departing the area. You obtained a beast spirit earlier? Yu Qingfeng stared at Qin Wentian. Yes. What's the use of a beast spirit? Qin Wentian curiously asked. In the past, there was a supreme existence that sealed the 360 war beasts in the war beast testing grounds. The beast spirits here aren't the true bodies of the war beasts, but rather, the consciousness of the war beasts. It's rumored that these war beasts were summoned from the 9 heavenly layers, and by seizing those beast spirits, you would be able to easily sense the location of the astral souls of the astral beasts in the 9 heavenly layers. Yu Qingfeng explained to Qin Wentian, you should understand that after breaking through from the arterial circulation realm to the Yuanfu realm, one would be able to condense a third astral soul. Generally speaking, one would only be able to condense an astral soul from the 3rd heavenly layer. For those with exceptional talent, they would be able to condense an astral soul from the 4th heavenly layer. However, it's not so easy to find and condense an astral soul from the war beast testing grounds. Similar to the effects of Yuan meteor stones? Qin Wentian seemed to have understood. The effects are many times stronger compared to Yuan meteor stones. For those who could only condense an astral soul from the 3rd heavenly layer, their consciousness would only be able to stay in the 4th heavenly layer for a short period of time. With the existence of the beast spirits, there's a high possibility that they would be able to condense an extremely powerful astral soul from the 3rd heavenly layer. Yu Qingfeng continued to explain. To stellar martial cultivators, the temptation of a beast spirit was extremely great. Understood. Qin Wentian nodded his head. Brother Qin, you should have seen how powerful the war beasts are earlier. The true bodies of these war beasts hate us to the extreme, and they want to devour us whole. Hence, if we were to encounter the top-ranked war beasts, we would be in grave danger. As for the top 10 war beasts, they are simply invincible existences. Yu Qingfeng continued, hence, we hope that we can gather our strength to deal with the war beasts together. I understand. Qin Wentian nodded his head in agreement. The group of them continued their journey, as they continued their training. And at this moment, in the Chu country, there were many shocking news being circulated. Qin Wu of the Qin clan had actually escaped from the Black Stronghold. The guards of the Black Stronghold had suffered heavy casualties, causing the entire royal capital to tremble. The Black Stronghold was rumored to be a secret prison, and the security was extremely tight. However, Qin Wu had actually managed to escape unscathed, causing people to feel that there was an undercurrent brewing in the dark. At the same time, the 2 famous martial academies of Chu, the Royal Academy in the Godly General Martial Palace, announced their merger. In this way, there were signs that they were going to contend against the Emperor Star Academy. And in reality, they were indeed going to contend against the Emperor Star Academy. Chapter 155. On the day of the merger between the Godly General Martial Palace and the Royal Academy, there was news that the Crown Prince of Snowcloud was going to marry the Princess of Chu. The Princess of Chu had a high possibility of becoming the Crown Princess of Snowcloud. However, Xiaolok didn't give up just like that. At the same time, he sent people to the Emperor's Star Academy, saying that Qin Yao was a candidate for the Crown Princess of Snowcloud, and they had to bring her back. Naturally, the Emperor's Star Academy wouldn't allow it. Hence, the royal clan of Chu personally came to pay a visit to the Emperor's Star Academy. Such a situation caused the sharp-witted crowd to smell the scent of danger. The royal clan of Chu wanted to make a move against the Emperor's Star Academy. And this wasn't the biggest change. On the 2nd day after Qin Wu was rescued, news circulated from the battlefield. The royal clan launched a ferocious attack, and at the same time, experts attempted to assassinate Qin He and Qin Yi. As for the ending, Qin He lost an arm, and both of his arms were destroyed. If it weren't for the help of a mysterious expert, he would have already died in battle. Not only that, there were also rumors circulating that the various armies stationed at the borders of Chu were preparing to make a move, and that they had already set off for the royal capital. Their slogan was, the Chu emperor is tyrannical, killing the loyal, annihilating the good generals. When the rabbits die, the dogs roar. The news of Qin Wu being sentenced to death by the emperor began to spread throughout the Chu country, causing a huge commotion in the hearts of the people. In addition to what the royal clan had done to the Qin residents in the Sky Harmony City, it was as though the royal clan was tyrannical, and the country had to change owners. The only news that was beneficial to the royal clan was that the Snow Cloud country had sent out their troops to guard the borders of Chu, preventing any invasions. At the same time, it was as though they were telling the other countries that the Snow Cloud country was now an ally of Chu. The major characters in the royal capital could truly smell the scent of a storm. They didn't expect that an unexpected event like the Junlin banquet would cause such a terrifying chain reaction. With regards to the storm outside, Qin Wentian, who was in the spirit beast testing grounds, had no idea. After staying here for a day, he gradually familiarized himself with the testing grounds. There were many war beast spirits here, and all of them were extremely powerful. He also understood that the trial grounds were not a real world. He was the same as the demonic beasts. He was a dream consciousness, and a wisp of his consciousness had entered the trial grounds with his dream. Not only could he devour beast spirits, but the battle beasts could also devour his consciousness. At this moment, he joined hands with Yu Qingfeng and the others to kill another beast. The ranking of this war beast wasn't weak. It was ranked 241st in the War Beast Index, the Flower Rock Cheetah. If one was able to condense an astral soul from it, one's entire body would be able to transform into a solid rock, increasing one's defense to a terrifying level. Not only that, one's speed and attack power would also be extremely strong. Brother Qin, I still have 3 people on my side. After they have devoured the beast spirits, it will be your turn next. After all, you have already obtained your own beast spirit. Yu Qingfeng said to Qin Wentian. This was already the 5th beast they had killed. No need, I wish to travel alone. Qin Wentian replied. After traveling together for a day, although Yu Qingfeng was still extremely courteous to him, he could faintly sense that although these people from the Azure Emperor Palace were from the same faction as him, they still looked down on him. Subconsciously, there would be hints of arrogance in their eyes. After all, although they were from the same faction, their statuses were completely different. They came from the Azure Emperor Palace, while he came from a small country. This point could be seen from the way they divided the war beast spirits. However, Qin Wentian didn't say anything. He had no way to change the views of others. At most, he would travel alone. Brother Qin, you should understand that the spirit beast testing grounds is extremely dangerous. Yu Qingfeng persuaded. I will be careful. Qin Wentian casually replied. Since that's the case, I won't obstruct Brother Qin any longer. Just don't waste your life because of a moment of anger. Cooperation is originally for the sake of benefits, it's just a matter of priority. Yu Qingfeng added. Qin Wentian furrowed his brows. The words of Yu Qingfeng clearly had a hidden meaning. Without saying anything more, Qin Wentian turned and departed. How reckless. A student from the Emperor's Star Academy, we didn't even know that we saved him, yet he still wants to sit on the same level as the Azure Emperor Palace. I wonder why the Azure Emperor established such an academy back then. A person beside Yu Qingfeng impolitely commented. He didn't suppress his voice, allowing Qin Wentian to hear him clearly. Increasing his speed, Qin Wentian once again traveled alone. Although he knew that if he separated from those from the Azure Emperor Palace, the dangers would be much greater, but he wasn't willing to become a lower existence. Qin Wentian arrived at a vast grassland, with a mountain range in front of him. But at this moment, he could clearly sense danger approaching. In front of him, a demonic beast slowly walked out from the mountain range. It was a great rock, its entire body radiating a resplendent silvery light, and its eyes were as sharp as ice. Silvery Rock, ranked number 98 in the War Beast Index. Qin Wentian's eyes narrowed. This was the first time he had encountered a war beast that was ranked within the top 100. Not only that, he could feel a sense of danger from behind him. Turning back, he saw a gigantic demonic bear that emanated a terrifying demonic chi. The body of this demonic bear seemed to be clad in a suit of silver armor. Even its claws were silver in color. Silver-armored bear king, ranked number 97 in the War Beast Index. Qin Wentian's gaze froze. These two war beasts were ranked near the top, and were both incomparably tyrannical. To think that he would actually be caught in a pincer attack. How unlucky. Bzzz, his body was like a great rock. Qin Wentian madly fled to the side. The silvery rock flapped its silvery wings, transforming into a silvery bolt of lightning. Its speed was even faster than Qin Wentian's, while the hooves of the silver-armored bear king shook the earth, emitting terrifying rumbling sounds. Its speed wasn't any slower than Qin Wentian's. A demonic beast ranked in the top 100 of the War Beast Index was definitely a terrifying existence. The silvery rock had already hovered in the air above Qin Wentian. An ancient halberd appeared in his hands. Although this wasn't the real world, there wasn't much difference between it and the real world. In the real world, the ancient halberd had always been hidden in his interspatial ring. Puchi. The silvery rock spat out a silvery sword light, lunging towards Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian abruptly halted his steps. He lifted his palms and blasted out a palm imprint, colliding with the silvery sword light spat out by the silvery rock. A raging wind gusted as the silvery rock's sharp claws directly smashed downwards, aiming for Qin Wentian's head at lightning speed. Qin Wentian's ancient halberd slammed out with the mountain splitter stance, colliding with the silvery claws of the silvery rock. The sound of metal clashing rang out. How powerful! Qin Wentian saw the silvery rock being forced back, and his arm also felt numb. At the same time, the earth trembled, and the gigantic body of the silver-armored bear king leaped up, slashing out with its razor-sharp claws. Falling mountain palms. Qin Wentian slammed out with his left palm as his divine energy frenziedly erupted. However, his body was directly flung through the air as he slammed heavily onto the ground. His arm felt as though it was on the verge of shattering. The combat prowess of a war beast ranked within the top 100 in the War Beast Index was simply too tyrannical. The fallen Qin Wentian hadn't escaped from danger yet. The silvery rock swooped downwards, its silvery sword piercing out in a frenzy. Its cold eyes seemed capable of killing. If I die, I won't have such a chance anymore. Qin Wentian silently mused. As long as he died, he would lose the qualifications to enter the refinement grounds. Most probably, Luo Tianya had died in here as well. Hence, he hoped that his son, Luo Qianqiu, would be able to enter here. The berserk beast halberd art, Xuanwu stance, was impenetrable to the wind and rain. Qin Wentian's blood seemed to be boiling as his body grew larger. His black hair fluttered in the wind as he stabbed out with the ancient halberd in his hands. The silvery rock collided with the bear king once again, but this time around, it was forced back into the air. Cracks could be seen on its silvery claws as though they had been shattered. However, Qin Wentian's situation was even worse. The silver-armored bear king once again unleashed another attack. Scram! The forgotten imprint was pushed to its limits, and was infused with the power of Qin Wentian's bloodline. With a thunderous boom, the gigantic body of the silver-armored bear king was forcibly blocked. However, Qin Wentian was once again sent flying through the air. Top 10. Azure Emperor, you are truly ruthless. If he wanted to step into the 8th level of the Heavenly Star Pavilion, he had to plunder the spirit beasts ranked within the top 10 in the War Beast Index. He didn't even dare to imagine how ferocious the top 10 beast spirits were. Not only that, the constellations they represented were all from the 5th heavenly layer. If he could condense an astral soul from them, how terrifying would that be? In the future, when he broke through to the Heavenly Dipper realm, he would be able to summon his Heavenly Dipper war beast. The two war beasts once again launched their attacks towards Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian wiped the traces of blood from the corner of his mouth as his silhouette flickered. He executed the Garuda movement technique to its limits, and at the same time, his ancient halberd and palm imprints erupted forth in a frenzy. But very quickly, he was riddled with injuries. Under the encirclement of the two war beasts, it was only a matter of time before he died. At this moment, a raging wind gusted by as a silhouette clad in blue appeared. A sharp sword appeared in her hands as she directly slashed towards the silver-armored rock. The sword chi collided with the claws of the silver-armored rock, but the sword chi wasn't extinguished. Instead, the sword intent of the silver-armored Bear King was reborn. The pressure on Qin Wentian instantly lessened as he focused on dealing with the silver-armored Bear King. Without the assistance of the silver-armored rock, although the attacks of the silver-armored Bear King were ferocious, its agility was lacking. Qin Wentian's silhouette flickered as he slashed out with his halberd, causing the silver-armored Bear King to suffer a series of setbacks. The battle here continued on for quite some time. Two groups of silhouettes appeared, but they didn't rush forward to help. Instead, they surrounded the silver-armored Bear King, Qin Wentian, and Qian Mengyu within a certain range. They were the group that wanted to deal with Qin Wentian the first time, as well as Yu Qingfeng and those from the Azure Emperor Palace. When the silver-armored rock saw this, it soared into the skies. It had the ability to soar through the air, and these people wouldn't be able to catch up to it. However, the silver-armored Bear King continued its frenzied attacks. Qian Mengyu stared at Qin Wentian as she spoke, "Give it up. Even if you defeat it, don't even think about obtaining the beast spirit." Qin Wentian naturally saw the group of people glaring at him like a tiger eyeing its prey. His eyes flickered as he retreated. He was truly unwilling to give up at this point in time. Puchi. Abruptly, Qin Wentian's ancient halberd pierced into the eye of the silver-armored Bear King, causing it to howl in rage. However, Qin Wentian's ancient halberd was still in its eye, and very swiftly, the silver-armored Bear King's silhouette gradually turned illusory. With a flick of his palm, Qin Wentian's inscriptions appeared, transforming into a vortex that swallowed the beast spirit. The demonic aura he exuded grew stronger and stronger, as his long hair fluttered in the wind. Truly a fellow that doesn't know the immensity of death. Those from the Azure Emperor Palace had expressions of ridicule on their faces when they saw that Qin Wentian still dared to swallow the beast spirit. So what if he swallowed it? Everyone here was a consciousness body. As long as they swallowed Qin Wentian's consciousness, the beast spirit in his body would be swallowed as well. Chapter 156. Qin Wentian's ink-black hair fluttered in the wind. He turned his gaze onto Qian Mengyu as he asked, "What you used earlier, was it the 9 swords of life?" Qian Mengyu had a strange expression on her face as she stared at Qin Wentian. "How did you know?" Qin Wentian said that he came from a small country, so how did he know about the 9 swords of life from her green cloud pavilion? "I've seen people using the 9 swords of life before," Qin Wentian replied. This set of sword art was one of the 4 divine inscription diagrams that belonged to Gong Yanghong. Qin Wentian and Gong Yanghong had speculated that this sword art was cultivated by the woman Gong Yanghong loved. However, Qin Wentian didn't know the exact details. "Many thanks for your help earlier." Qin Wentian thanked Qian Mengyu. "You better think about what to do first." Qian Mengyu stepped away. Although Qin Wentian was able to recognize the 9 swords of life, she wouldn't go so far as to help Qin Wentian. It was rare for her to enter the spirit beast testing grounds, and she naturally didn't want to die in there. Qin Wentian cast a glance at the situation around him. Indeed, it was going to be extremely difficult. Bzzz, abruptly, Qin Wentian's silhouette flickered as the illusory wings of a Garuda flickered in and out of existence. His entire person soared into the air as he retreated in the direction of one of the gaps. Only to see 2 figures dashing out, blocking his path of retreat. Qin Wentian's speed didn't slow down in the slightest. Executing the mountain splitter, he lunged towards one of them. Puchi! A light sound rang out as the silhouette of that person turned illusory. The ancient halberd directly pierced through his skull, while at the same time, Qin Wentian blasted out a palm imprint to his left. Boom! A powerful force was transmitted into his palm. Qin Wentian borrowed the force of the impact to soar into the air, leaping out like a Garuda. When he landed, he was already outside of the encirclement's perimeter. What an exquisite 9 heavenly Garuda movement technique, it's definitely at the perfect level of the arterial circulation manual. The countenances of the experts from the Azure Emperor Palace changed when they saw this scene. After which, they too stepped out, akin to Garuda rocks. As for the devilishly handsome young man and the rest, they were all from the Sky Demon sect. At this moment, a pair of demonic beast wings appeared on their bodies. Every step they took caused the sound of the wind to howl. Their speed was actually extremely fast. What guts! The people from the Sky Demon sect are not to be trifled with. Upon seeing this, Qian Mengyu also stepped out and chased after Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian was very clear that the people here weren't arterial circulation realm cultivators from Chu. Against ordinary cultivators at the peak of arterial circulation in Chu, he could easily kill them. But for the people in the spirit beast testing grounds, any one of them could be considered as the cream of the crop in Chu. This was especially so for that demonic young man. After fighting against him once, Qin Wentian could already sense that the strength of his opponent was no small matter. He wasn't so blindly confident that he would be able to deal with the encirclement of his opponents with his cultivation base at the 8th level of arterial circulation. Hence, he could only execute the Garuda movement technique to flee. After reaching the grand completion of the arterial circulation manual of the 9 heavenly Garuda movement technique, his speed wouldn't lose out to anyone else. The number of people who could chase after Qin Wentian grew fewer and fewer. The demonic young man from the Sky Demon sect, Yu Qingfeng from the Azure Emperor Palace, and Qian Mengyu from the Green Cloud Pavilion were 3 of them. Along the way, they met another group of experts. When they saw this scene, it was as though they had sensed something as well, as they chased after Qin Wentian. In front of them, there was a river. Qin Wentian's silhouette flickered as he soared into the air, akin to a great rock soaring through the air, directly landing on the opposite side of the river. The others all chased after him, each displaying their own innate techniques as they crossed the river. Very quickly, Qin Wentian dashed into a patch of forest, causing the countenances of the pursuers to turn unsightly. They had so many experts, yet they had no way to catch up to Qin Wentian. With so much time, Qin Wentian should be able to hunt and kill quite a few war beasts. What they didn't know was that at this moment, Qin Wentian's heart was filled with rage. He had merely devoured a single beast spirit. There were many beast spirits in this training ground, and there were even some that were ranked higher than the ones he had devoured, yet these pursuers were so overbearing. At the end of the forest, there was a stone mountain with a waterfall cascading down from it. On the left and right side of the mountain, there were lakes. This was a place where there was no path of retreat. Qin Wentian halted his steps as he heard the whistling sound of wind behind him. The demonic young man from the Sky Demon sect was the first to catch up to him, stopping not too far away from him. The shadow of a great rock appeared on Yao Xing's back. His gaze was demonic and cold as he took a step forward, as a gentle palm strike blasted out once again. Bzzz, Qin Wentian's ancient halberd pierced out with lightning speed. Yao Xing's palms trembled as demonic qi erupted forth. His palms transformed into a gigantic bear's paw as they slammed out, colliding with the ancient halberd. His movements were incomparably gentle, and at the instant he struck out, he dashed towards Qin Wentian, brushing past the ancient halberd as he dashed towards Qin Wentian. A demonic glow radiated forth, enveloping Qin Wentian's body. Qin Wentian didn't retreat. The aura of his sovereign's descent bloodline erupted forth as he slammed out with his palms, akin to a true mountain peak crashing down. Pang! A terrifying hurricane swept through the air as the two of them retreated at the same time. Qin Wentian's arterial pathways trembled as his heart pounded madly. The innate techniques of his opponent were both powerful and bizarre. Yao Xing also took a step back as a strange look flashed in his eyes. After which, the coldness in his eyes grew even stronger. A towering demonic qi erupted forth as scales appeared on his arms. His eyes flickered with a demonic light as the wings on his back glowed even brighter. At this moment, he was akin to a terrifying demonic being. A raging wind gusted by as Yao Xing lunged towards Qin Wentian once again. Fallen Star Stance. The ancient halberd in Qin Wentian's hands erupted forth with a terrifying might, as a terrifying vortex appeared in front of him. Yao Xing's palms slammed out as a terrifying boom reverberated through the air. His silhouette flickered as he evaded the strongest attack of the Fallen Star Stance. His entire person transformed into a series of afterimages. Die! Yao Xing's arms elongated as his palms transformed into sharp claws, piercing straight towards Qin Wentian's head. The ancient halberd in Qin Wentian's hands trembled as he spat out a beam of sword light. With a howl of rage, his left palm blasted out with the falling mountain palms. Their attacks collided in a frenzy as Qin Wentian's body was violently forced backwards. Even after activating the power of his bloodline, he was still forced to retreat. Staring at the silhouette in front of him, Qin Wentian could feel that Yao Xing's bloodline was also boiling. That was the bloodline of a beast. Those behind him all followed behind, and upon seeing that Yao Xing had yet to kill Qin Wentian, they all had strange expressions on their faces. This young man who had stepped into the spirit beast testing grounds out of the blue, had a strength that was truly shocking. Boom! At this moment, the earth trembled as the hearts of the crowd shuddered. They stared in front of them, feeling as though the mountain was moving. Rumbling sounds rang out as the gigantic boulders on the mountain fell down like a waterfall. The rumbling sounds grew increasingly terrifying as a terrifying demonic qi permeated the air. Roar! A thunderous roar rang out as the earth split apart. The lake water on both sides of the waterfall churned violently as a terrifying demonic beast soared up into the skies, creating a gigantic wave. This demonic beast had the body of a python coiled around the waterfall. It was unknown how long it was, but its body was covered in scales, with sharp spikes protruding out of it. Its arms were thick and muscular, and it had 5 claws on its palms that were curved like hooks, cold and sharp. At this moment, the long whiskers of this demonic beast stood on end as it roared in rage. Its sharp fangs caused fear to rise in the hearts of the onlookers, and it was many times more terrifying than a python. The blue-scaled flood dragon, ranked number 9 in the War Beast Index. The hearts of the crowd trembled as they stared at this terrifying demonic beast. The reason they came to the spirit beast testing grounds was because they wanted to obtain the spirit of the top 10 ranked beasts. However, the combat prowess of the top 10 demonic beasts were all terrifying. They were invincible existences at the arterial circulation realm. There are so many powerful demonic beasts. If I devour its spirit, in addition to my powerful perception, would I be able to sense the location of the blue-scaled flood dragon astral soul in the 5th heavenly layer? Qin Wentian's heart trembled. If his conjecture was correct, then he had already decided which astral soul he should choose for his 3rd astral soul. There were many demonic beasts in the War Beast Index, and the beast spirits of these demonic beasts could allow one to sense the existence of a demonic beast astral soul. However, no matter what kind of astral soul it was, how could it be compared to a summoning-type astral soul? However, Qin Wentian understood that summoning-type stellar martial cultivators were exceedingly rare. This was because the difficulty of becoming one was exceedingly high. If one didn't have enough talent, the summoning-type astral soul would be useless. To many people, summoning-type astral souls were trash astral souls. However, there were some genius summoners in the continent who possessed the ability to summon astral souls. At this moment, Qin Wentian had the thought of becoming a summoning-type stellar martial cultivator. Not only that, this thought was extremely strong. In the future, when he summoned his astral souls, all sorts of demonic beasts would descend from the heavens, roaring and howling as they protected him. How beautiful would that be? Naturally, this thought remained in his heart. At this moment, what he needed to do was to face the situation in front of him. The Flood Dragon ranked number 9 in the War Beast Index wasn't something that the Silvery Rock ranked number 90 could compare to. The Flood Dragon raised its head arrogantly, staring down at the human in front of it. Its pair of demonic sharp eyes flickered with an intense killing intent. Bzzz. Abruptly, the body of the blue-scaled Flood Dragon moved. Its gigantic body instantly appeared in front of Qin Wentian as it slammed out with its thick arms. Its terrifyingly sharp claws were capable of ripping apart mountains, yet at this moment, it was aiming for Qin Wentian's body of flesh and blood. Qin Wentian's bloodline power surged frenziedly as he executed the fallen star stance. The ancient halberd howled in rage as it slashed towards the sharp claws of the Flood Dragon. Pang! Qin Wentian's body was directly flung through the air as his blood and qi churned wildly. He couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood as the ancient halberd in his hands trembled uncontrollably. How powerful! Qin Wentian's heart trembled. Clearly, the Flood Dragon was also a 6th-level demonic beast, but how could it be so powerful? Was this the tyrannical strength of the top 10 ranked war beasts in the War Beast Index? It seemed like the difficulty of ascending to the 8th level of the Heavenly Star Pavilion wasn't so high. The Azure Emperor had stated that if one wanted to ascend to the 8th level of the Heavenly Star Pavilion, they had to plunder the spirit of the top 10 ranked demonic beasts. This test was indeed many times more difficult compared to obtaining the champion of the Junlin Banquet. He was able to obtain the champion of the Junlin Banquet, but even if he was stronger, it would still be extremely difficult for him to slay the top 10 ranked war beasts. From this, one could see the difficulty of the two tests. In that case, what did the Azure Emperor leave behind in the 8th level of the Heavenly Star Pavilion? You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.